Welcome everybody to a very special Horror Nights presented by VSW Podcast. I'm calling it now. I'm declaring it now. Summer is over. It's done. We're into spooky season. September is less than days away, and that can only mean one thing. Con season. That's right. Every weekend, a different horror. TerrorCon, Silver Scream, Paranormal, Connecticut. There's something going on everywhere. And you know what the greatest part about it is? Meeting great and wonderful people, artists, filmmakers, authors. It's one of my favorite things, going around and talking and meeting the new people. And someone that's going to be at TerrorCon in Marlborough coming up, I have her coming on right now, is none other than Tabitha Winters, a horror author. Let's bring her on.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's true though. I do enjoy, just as much as meeting all the stars and guests. I have fun meeting all the people that have booths and that are selling, what I call their creativity. I've had, chances to, do writings and sell pieces here and there and done some films and stuff. So, and being an artist and graphic designer. So I call it that because, if I say it in a way that, not everybody has creative, but if you can turn your creativity into something that can make you even $1, I consider that a success because you've sold your creativity.
Mm-hmm. I think it's awesome. I think it's so cool. I love that it's spooky season. I love that it's con time because finally, but I love it because we get this opportunity to really explore some really cool things. And, that's one of the things I love about the whole creative process is you get to go into this whole new world, create something new, and, some really fun stuff comes out of it.
It really does. I'll be honest, I'm kind of new to the con world. Not new to the horror scene. I've loved horror since I've been a kid, but for most of the time, my podcast, the VSW, is a wrestling podcast, cover independent wrestling across New England. But horror's always been a second passion of mine. I've always tried to find new ways to get into it. And then talking with a friend of mine through wrestling, I was able to, be introduced to the world of cons. And I have to say it's been a blessing, but it's also been a nightmare.
Oh.
Not for me, but for like the wallet, because I'm like a kid in a candy store. I've never met anybody. I've never gone anything. So like everybody's new. I needed them all. Like,
right. You need all the merch. You need all the stuff.
I do. I started small though. I started with Monster Expo, originally in Fairhaven. Then I went to the one in Nashua. And now we're getting into the bigger cons. Like I said, we got TerrorCon coming up, and then the Silver Scream, and then I'm going to the Connecticut one out there. And it's going to be the 3 weekends. Oh, and I'm going, TerrorCon, I'm actually only going that Saturday because Sunday I wanted to go to the paranormal convention up in Maine.
Oh, cool.
Because I wanted to meet the real Annabelle doll.
You're a brave man, my friend.
I'm not gonna open it. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna follow the rules, but
good call. You don't need that trouble.
And the good thing is I'm going to the second day of that tour. So if anything's to happen, it'll happen while I'm at TerrorCon.
There you
go. Then hopefully by Sunday everything will be resolved with any demonic entities.
That's a good idea. You should always make a reservation with the demonic entities. Just make sure, hey guys, can you clear out before I show up? Because it's not my thing. There you go.
I just tell them, look, I'm a friendly, okay? I'm not going to bother you. I'm a fan of most of the stuff you do on TV or have done, the way they portrayed you. We can make an agreement here. We can make an arrangement. Let's work a deal. I'm always willing to work a deal with the devil if I have to.
That won't end well, probably, but sure, go for it.
I mean, what's to lose, my soul? I mean, what are they going to take?
It's a buyer's market. Let's be fair. I mean, with the economy, I feel like your soul's really, it's time to sell. Who's to say?
It is, right? It is. It's going. They're going. Morals are getting less and less. Everything's just going to hell, anyways. But let me ask you a question, real simple one. Why horror? What got you into horror?
Actually, it's kind of funny. So I actually write psychological thrillers. So I write the Spook series, and my social media director, LD. I don't know if you know Gravity Falls, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so they have Summerween. So we were just sort of like on a little car ride. We were talking about the latest book and like a couple of things we're doing. And we're starting this whole merch line for the book. So we're really excited. And she was like, what would be really cool if we did like a Summerween book, if we just did like all horror. And we took the characters from the Spook series and put them into these like insane horror stories. And she kind of like threw it out there as, kind of like a challenge. She's like, let's see if we can write this in a month. And we're going to release a new story every single week. And then we're going to release an entire book of 10 stories. And we did it. It actually came out last week. So exciting.
So you'll have it actually at TerraCon. So you'll like come to the booth, say hello, and buy your.
Ooh.
Very good. Awesome.
Yeah, exciting. It was wild. It was wild to write something that quickly, but it was actually really fun to write short stories with the characters because you get to like get right in there. And, I got to learn a lot about voodoo vampires that burst into flames when they take their skin off. That was cool. So
wow.
I know, right? Like,
I mean, that's good knowledge right there. And I guess writing on that kind of a rigid timeline, you kind of go with your instincts of writing. You're not really second guessing your word choice or what your story is going to be. You're just going with what you feel. And it's like, there's not that time for the editing of changing your mind a million times, which is, I think, hard for a lot of people to write or do anything. You always go back and try to make it perfect or better. And it's just like, sometimes you just got to let it go and fly.
Absolutely. I thought it was so like freeing because my books have a lot of twists and turns. And so, I put a lot of like breadcrumbs in them. So something that you think is innocuous becomes important, 50 pages later. And this is like, let's get it out in 12 pages. So,
I'm excited.
Yeah. So it was really fun. It was like, okay, how many tentacles can be in this exactly? Like, how many eyeballs are going to be missing today? Like, we'll try that. So it was like a blast, and it was really fun to use the characters in different contexts. And we've got werewolves, we got vampires, demons, obviously, right? We've got some Japanese water demons because yes,
you
obviously.
Need something, yes,
right? Who doesn't need a little grudge action going on? Come on.
Everybody loves J horror. I'll be honest.
It's like, so you're gonna have like all that. We've got witches, we've got skinwalkers, wendigos. My gosh, I'm trying to think if we missed.
You got it all in there. You got the whole.
It was one of those things that was so fun because it's like, we were just kind of talking, and I'm like, ooh, the Appalachian Mountains, like, that makes me nervous. It's like, oh, let's try that. Let's try. What would it be like if you really were, possessed? What would that feel like? Or what would it actually be if, you wake up tomorrow and a good friend of yours is suddenly a different creature?
That's an interesting thing you just said. Well, I mean, that's interesting about a friend being a different creature. But I think that actually happened to me once. But the one prior, I've had some weird stuff. But the one prior to that is something that I haven't. If you think about it, you've never seen it really in cinematic form. You've always seen it, from the point of a parent, a point of a priest, a point of something.
Mm-hmm.
You never see the point of this is my also. I'll just tell you in a sec. This is my podcast host. He comes on sometimes. Victor Sin.
Nice.
You never see it from the point of view of the person being possessed.
Yes.
And you do wonder, how would that feel? Like, do you know that your conscience, like, did you see it in movies? Like, you see these bits and pieces where they're like, help.
Right.
Do they, so you want to know, what's their conscience mind feeling? Are they trapped behind this wall of, can't get out? Like, now you make me want to read these kinds of things.
Well, I love that. Well, I work in forensic psych, so I'm all about the mind and like what's going on inside you. And all of my books come from the perspective of people who are actively experiencing, whether it's like a mental health issue or something like that. And it's how they handle it rather than how the world perceives them. So, it's kind of neat to actually walk through something. One of these characters, like there's a story called The Other Mrs. Renault, and it's unclear, is she actively experiencing this problem? By the end, you figure out what's going on, but she's even confused and she's not sure what to do, and she's the one who's going through, the corridor and going, I kind of want to eat the dead animal. Like, I think there might be something wrong with me today,
Kind of like that movie with that, what was it, something Logan, with a lady, you don't know if she was possessed or was suffering from dementia. It was just like something similar to that. Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, I do, obviously, I watch a lot more than I read. That's just due to attention span. Not that what I read isn't good, but what happens to me is, if I watch a movie, I'm going to watch the whole thing straight.
Sure.
If I read a book, unless I have dedication and time, I'm not going to be able to read that whole thing straight. So if I don't get back to it in a certain amount of time, I end up having to just restart the book.
I gotcha.
And then half of these times I never finish. Let me ask you, what's your average book length?
It's right around, it's close to probably 300. I'm trying to get it down. Okay. The next book we're going to look at like 250, but because it's a series, the first book had a lot, the second book had less, and
that's not bad though.
That's not a baby. This one's 131, so this is
that's not bad at all. I can bang that out.
It's like 10, 12 pages.
It's when you get into like King's 500 or 700 page books, it's like, dude, I'm just gonna watch the 3-hour special on TV.
Right. I'm going to walk you through the Shire for like 20 pages. Like, the grass was so green. And I'm just going to keep talking about the grass. Like, okay, we got it. It's grass.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of the times I gravitate just because of the way I am. I'll end up gravitating towards like anthology horror, even with watching, because I can, at least if I finish 2 of the stories, I can dip back in later and I don't have to like deal with a whole bunch of stuff. But this is really intriguing to me because, like you said, you talked a lot. Another key word to me is characters and character work. Even in the pro wrestling scene, is always what drew me to wrestling, is the people, their character, how they portray. And then, like, there's these promotions that have been starting with these, characters you've watched all your lives, all while they've been wrestling. They play a different character on another show. And that kind of was thinking about, like, what you were saying, you're taking your characters from one of your, series and you're throwing them all into scenarios. Boom, 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 boom. And it just brings a different light of these characters. You get to see a different point of view of them.
Yeah, it's super fun because, in my main series, it's essentially, we've got kind of like a detective team, kind of a psychologist and a foreign detective. So in the Campfire Tales, you get to see the foreign detective instead as like the ambassador of like this kind of feudal place. And you get to go way back in time with Marcus, who's, a lot of people really enjoy Marcus. I've had a couple people say he's very Deadpool-esque. He's just kind of wisecracky and he's got everything going on. So he's fun. But you get to see him at 14 and just being kind of like a prepubescent, hormonal 14-year-old who's just trying to like figure stuff out. And a demon comes to claim his soul, and he kind of gives the demon some trouble. So, as 14-year-olds do.
That's like an epic clash, though. You got like a moody-ass teenager and then a demon. I mean, I honestly, I don't know who's more evil, the teenager or the demon. And you mentioned a boy. If it was a girl, I would say the girl's got like a 99% of beating the demon.
Yeah, it's such a fun, it's just fun to put them in the different scenarios. And this book is kind of told from like as if Marcus was telling you a bunch of stories. And because Marcus is kind of all over the place, he comes up with these wild ideas, and it's fun to see them in different ways, whether it's, I don't know, like you said, if you've got like a demon and you've got like a kid, you've got kind of like this punk 14-year-old and his friends are all like egging him on. And then he thinks like, whoa, like, it's a demon and she's hot. Like, let's go. And she's kind of like, ooh, you're clean. Like,
it's like, yeah, wait a minute. What's going on here?
it's harsh when your demon rejects you. That's kind of what we're looking at here. So, because my horror stories always have a lot of humor in them, just because that's
The
who
next,
I am.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The next stop after that is like something like necromantic. You just need to find a corpse.
Right?
If the demon rejects you, just go with the dead corpse.
Yeah, at that point, what are your options? I mean, I think the bar is very low.
Yeah,
So,
very, very low. But Jesus, I'm very excited because, like I said, either I've been since I was went into going to these cons as a podcaster previously. I said my goal is going to be to get into horror, but I want to interview people. So I've been either I see them first, I buy their stuff, I read it or read as much as I can read it, and then when I interview them, or I do it this way where I bring you on, you tell me about all the great stuff that you got to sell. I make sure I have enough money to come when I come, and I end up leaving with a bag full of autographed books.
and stuff. Or you
I
could buy
like it.
jewelry, or you could buy some of our stuffies, because we have stuffies and we have jewelry and all kinds of stuff. Because what we decided is we don't want this to just be a book, because it's kind of what you're talking about. A lot of people can't really get into the book. Like it needs to be an experience. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this like a whole experience where it's like you can be part of the bad guys or the good guys team, and you can decide like I've got, these are my bad guys bracelets, I've got good guy bracelets, who do you want to side with? And it's kind of fun.
It's bringing immersion into a world, and making your world bigger than just inside of the pages of a book. As a lot of great, I would say, authors have done, like Tolkien, right? He's brought in
Absolutely.
Lord of the Rings to the real world. Practically, there's people out there that are elvish.
There you go. It's a beautiful thing.
But these are the things we think of. So seeing that Harry Potter's another famous one, you see that all over the place. So I love seeing the horror world do it. I will be honest, when I was at the last one, I met a guy, he wrote a similar Goosebumps series, and just very cool, just with these books. He had these little plastic, figurines that were just part of the stories. And to me, if I see something like that, I'm going to buy it.
Absolutely.
I'm the person that will spend the extra 15 to buy the Blu-ray because it has, the little booklet inside. I go for the extras.
Absolutely.
So, so I love seeing accessories. I love seeing, stuff outside so you can read the book, but then you can experience parts of the book. You can be more immersive. And I think that also helps you get back into the book and continue reading it.
Absolutely. And I love when I'm in a book, because it feels like you're sort of in a community and it makes you feel good, And in my book, all my characters are flawed. They're, no one's perfect. So it's kind of that idea of sort of like you're accepting yourself and you're accepting these people. I mean, hopefully you're not killing anybody. Please don't do that. But if you are, you're in pretty good company. So there you go.
Yes. Always got to throw the disclaimer out there. Don't kill.
Please don't kill. But if you do it in a way that's highly amusing for everyone else. Thank you.
Well, the good news is, as I heard that, horror fans in general, people that watch horror, even people that watch like even extreme horror or more gore, are less likely to go on killing sprees, because we all have a healthy outlet to like experience the negativity. We'll just watch somebody get slaughtered on cam.
Yeah, as honestly, again, my field is psychology. So, I'm one of those people who is I'm a huge proponent of violent video games, violent shows, because those people are less likely to engage in those kinds of behaviors, because even if that was what they wanted to do, they're already engaging in it, So I'm a big fan of that stuff.
I mean, I'll be honest, I played this game on PlayStation this morning where I was this deranged guy dressed up like Santa Claus talking to a Christmas tree, and he told me to kill. And I had to go house to house and kill people without getting caught. Now, would I go do that in real life? No, never could. But was it fun to play? Yes, because I'm a fan of horror movies. It was a first-person perspective of being in a horror movie. And like, even like playing a game like Grand Theft Auto and driving erratically, like that releases something, because you can't do that in real life.
Well, the premise of my second book is that the villain Vaffy is actually getting people to participate in a live action role play horror. So they think that what they're doing is they're paying to like be beside him while he kills people. And they believe like this is all part of some big game, and he's giving them the real thrill, which is to actually kill or be killed. So it's really
Ooh,
fun. Yeah, it's
that
really
is
fun. It takes
fun.
place
I
at a
like this.
carnival, so it's ooh,
See, I like that you have a psychology background because, see, I'll be honest, and Victor can even attest to this, that we were talking about this on another show, that a lot of, slasher films, you know, I don't meet the criteria to be their victim. I'm not a teenager. I'm not a
yeah.
babysitter. I'm not a member of the Elm Street. I'm not all of this, right?
Right, right,
Other videos, it could happen, but it's not likely. But these
right.
psychological dramas, these are things that are, based off, usually off of some sort of truthness or some true experience or
Mhm.
some sort of inspiration. And these are things that we're kind of left with at the night of thinking, well, this is, could happen. This is a psychological mind twist.
Well, and in deception, the idea is that everyone's doing it for social media credit. So, you know what I mean? So it's like the more exposure you get in this horror game, or the more you're willing to do as far as like stalking a victim or taking something from them, like the more points you get social media wise. So it gets you more and more followers, and it gets you to like level up in the game and get extra things. So it's kind of cool. It's like a nice little twist on that.
As people trade their humanity for social fame.
Yikes, terrifying.
It
You know
is.
what's really funny? I had a nightmare the other night that someone actually did what my killer did in the book. And I was
Ooh.
like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
You're going to become the next Sutter Kane. You're going to be like that from Mouth of Madness. People are going to be going around just killing people.
I'll be like, doggone it, I should have seen this coming. You know? But honestly, that'll be my tombstone. Like, mistakes were made.
Well,
Yes.
I'm guessing you're from the Northeast, so you could just move up to Maine and disappear.
At this point, it's going to be like me and a Sasquatch. I don't know. Like,
Hey, I mean, even that. People were talking about, men in the bear. Forget about that. What about Bigfoot? You forgot about Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, I got to be honest, ever since he cut that deal with Slim Jim, I feel like people have really put him in the wrong place.
Really have.
It's a great
Very,
guy.
it is though.
Staying power.
Now I was gonna ask, you said you have nightmares, but well, you had a nightmare, but where do you grab some of this inspirations for these stories? Does it just come to you? Do you pull from experience? Do you pull from dreams?
So I'm kind of blessed. I work in forensics as well as private psych. So I work in the criminal justice system. I work in jails. I work in hospitals. I work in private. So like sometimes something will come up that I'm like, ooh, I want to show people how that actually works. And then I do a lot of research, but I have massively weird dreams. Like my characters are constantly in my dreams, and sometimes I'll be like, whoa, Ellie, what are you doing? And before I know it, it's like she did this whole thing, and I'll go, and like you said, that's where the rewrite process comes in, because I say, oh, okay, so she didn't want to do it that way, she wants to do it this way.
So you,
And
so you'd even be like a good person to bring in, like, let's say, like if I was filming a movie and I needed like 3 scenes to be accurate, I could bring you in as someone to say, this would be scene accurate, this would be scene accurate, this would be scene accurate.
absolutely, because that's one of the things. That's one of the reasons I started writing. Was one of my patients was really disappointed because they have disassociation episodes, which isn't as rare as people think. So because they have PTSD, what happens is sometimes when they experience large amounts of stress, positive or negative, they like glitch. So they kind of leave for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, there's something wrong with me. I'm schizophrenic. I'm crazy. And I'm like, no, that's a normal. My passion is neuro. So I'm like, okay, neurologically, that's something normal that happens. And they were really mad because they said, every time I watch this in a show, it's used as a plot device, or like they go crazy and become murderers or whatever else. So I actually started writing a small short story to make them feel better. And when I gave it to them, they were like, well, where's the rest? And that's kind of how the series started.
I mean,
So I like to do that.
I'll be honest with you. I suffer from PTSD,
Okay.
and I do tune out at times. There's places
Yes.
I happen to have found a place to go.
Good.
I learned how to meditate. I learned how to do other things that kind of make my own zone to just go, and
Nice.
using other skills, CBT, EBT. But
Mhm.
but but at the end of the day, I'm one to throw it all into horror. That is where
Absolutely.
I like at the end of the night, I throw it on. It's not something that really scares me. I don't really watch it to be scared,
Mhm.
unless I want to be scared. Then I try to find something that's going to scare me, and I even have trouble with that because I've watched so much that it's kind of just desensitized. Like the gore
Yeah.
is not. It's not going to be the gore that's going to get me. It's not going to be, the killer that's going to get me. It's got to be something atmospheric, or like you said, very psychological, or something close to home.
Well, horror movies can be very soothing for anxious people because what you get is we call it a vicarious reaction to the anxiety. So, like if you and I are watching, I don't know, say the Blair Witch Project, for lack of anything better, and so we're on the edge of our seats. But what happens is we're allowed to have an imaginal exposure to something, and we get the endorphin rush and we get the kick, but we're safe. So it makes us feel better. So a lot of us are really comforted by horror movies. It makes us feel
Is
safe
it-
because we went through it.
I mean, that makes sense. I also have two other anxiety disorders. I have, generalized anxiety, and I have panic attack disorder. So, that edge of the seat feeling is like 90% of my day for no
Yeah.
reason. I wake up like that. I'm sitting here doing this for nothing. I'll be on my computer and it'll just come out of nowhere, like all day long, night and day. So it's like watching horror at some points, I almost sit there and it's amusing, or I'll even laugh because it's like, yes, this is terrifying. This is terrible. This is awful. But is it really worse than real life? Is it really worse than what I just saw on the news? Is it really worse than what I'm feeling right now?
Good point.
And I'm like, and it will have that opposite effect, almost like, why do we give, people with ADHD stimulants if they're already hyperactive? Why would an anxious person watch this, terrifying movie? Well, all of a sudden I start calming down and I'm chill.
Well, actually, it's the interesting part about the ADHD question is the reason that that is because neurologically the wiring is essentially backwards. So what makes them stimulated, what makes other people stimulated makes them calm. So, it used to be like our old way of figuring out if somebody had ADHD is we'd say like, hey, drink a really strong cup of espresso. And if they're like sleeping afterwards, we go, oh, shoot, this person has ADHD. Like, this is a huge issue.
Eh. See, I got misdiagnosed. I got misdiagnosed for 15 years as ADHD, and then they realized it was anxiety.
It's very easy to happen.
But
Yeah,
I love my caffeine because it does give me the stimulation. It does get me
of
more
course.
focused. But I mean, that's what it's supposed to do.
Right.
But there's been times if I'm tired and I drink it, I'm gonna. I mean, I've been. I mean, I put it this way: I've been tired and drinking half an energy drink, and I go to sleep.
You're tired enough, you will sleep.
But no. I mean, as a kid, I always just wondered that because of it worked on, for some reason it worked on the same level because I had a lot of nervous energy.
Right.
The stimulant helped me just kind of focus on whatever one thing I was
Yes.
doing, which stopped the mind from wandering to everything else in the world.
Right.
Which is the same thing, in some ways it worked even better than, the alternatives of what they give people for anxiety or panic attacks, because that just kind of slows the neural system down and
Right.
shuts off neurons, but at the same time it cuts your serotonin off. So all of a sudden you're not feeling as happy.
It's,
It's a real balance.
it is. And I think you're right. I think it's very easy for things to be misdiagnosed, especially with anxiety, because anxiety can mask itself in many different ways. My specialty is anxiety. So, I have a lot of people who come in with various disorders, sometimes even a medical disorder. They'll come in and say like, oh, I have GERD. And I'm like, okay, well, did they investigate anxiety for you? And they're like, no. I'm like, are you sure though? Because they should, because that's part of what creates the GERD system. And sometimes we'll find out like, wow, you've got pretty significant anxiety. You've just really gotten used to it. So you don't really see it anymore. But it
Oh,
is in the body.
I have terrible
Mhm.
gastroesophageal issues like, heartburn and burning stomachs, bloatation and stuff. I go to the doctors quite regularly, and they know I have anxiety, and 90% of the time
Mhm.
they just look at me and they just reassure me that I'm okay, and then they send me back, from my existential doomed mind, and I get to just go home happy for another 3 months until something else arises, and then I bother them again, and they look at me again. They're like, "You're still okay, sir." you can go now. But no, see, I think this is why I am drawn to horror, because these things, and to me, are just like, sometimes it puts me in a real life horror. My mind can get myself into a spot of terror sitting in my own bedroom that someone would get as being chased in the woods by a killer. The adrenaline, the heart rate, it's all up there. My heart's going 160. I'm sweating. All that's happening, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not thinking, and sometimes it's just out the blue. But
think of it like, a survival skill. So if your body has learned, like if you were living in a war-torn area, your body would learn that it's important to be safe all the time. And the best way to be safe is to be aware of any danger. So what happens is, it's almost like, think of it like a guitar string. Like if you pluck a guitar string, there's vibration and the other strings will start to vibrate slightly, even though they weren't plucked. So what ends up happening is, it's so used to this ongoing movement that you get this, where you have like anxiety ongoing and you constantly feel like you're right on the edge, because that's what you're used to. And that's what your brain is telling you to do, because it wants you to be safe.
But unfortunately, it becomes like a 50-50 flight or fight. Sometimes you are on edge, and sometimes you just get snappy with people. You're just like, bah, bah, bah. And it's because it's just, you're at that level of either that, or I'm going to walk away and you're not going to see me for 10 hours.
Right.
I mean, my famous escape is, I live near a cemetery. I go down there, I park my car, I bring my little vape, I throw on a horror movie, and I sit in the cemetery and watch a horror movie. And I usually pick a zombie movie at that, just because I think it's more fitting. And to me, it's just
cemetery.
And to me, I just chill out there for whatever. I never end up finishing the movie. It's like 20 minutes, and then I'll just go back to doing whatever I was doing. But it's been just kind of this almost like a ritualistic thing, just to kind of chill, like my chill spot. Like some people would go to a pond, or some people would go here. I go down there. It's weird, but it you know what it is? It's the quietest place that's closest to my house, where there isn't. Well, I mean, let's face it, there's not a lot of people there, and there isn't ongoing traffic. So I can just park, and there's nobody there that's going to be bothering me. I mean, unless the spirits are angry that day.
Yeah, just try not to make the spirits too angry. One of those things.
No, we're sometimes we go visit family, so I mean, they're not going to be too upset. Nice. So at least it's a place. But no, I find a lot of correlation, a lot of people that I talk to, and it's funny that you're into that, just because a lot of people that I do talk to that enjoy horror do have some sort of panic, or some sort of anxiety, or some sort of something with fear.
Absolutely.
But then we're drawn to it as well, and it just becomes this weird paradox, because there's people like my mom who doesn't have a lot of anxiety, but she doesn't like to be scared, so she won't watch horror. She won't. My wife doesn't like horror whatsoever. She won't even give it a chance. But like I said, a lot of the people that I do know that are into it do have some sort of something, whether it be severe or not. But like I said, I mean, even with me, it's like sometimes I gotta. It's not. Like most of the times I have to fight myself to get to these cons, even to get there.
Okay, yeah.
But then once I get there, I'm fine.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people with anxiety, because it's very overwhelming. It's very stimulating. There's a lot going on. This is my first time appearing at a con.
Is it?
Yeah, so I'm also very nervous about it, so I can understand.
Well, it'll be our first TerraCon. This will be great. At least you'll know somebody then. I'll hype it up. I'll be like, this is Tabitha Winters. She went viral earlier this week all over the internet. Better buy her book now. She's going to be something bigger.
We're going to cross our fingers. But it's kind of, I have to say, it's wild. I know you had said, when you first opened up, about how you've grown a lot of stuff. And I think it's kind of wild when you move to these other areas. And, for me, it's like I started with this little tiny story. So this is bizarre to me that I have books and people read them. Like, I'm like, wait,
It is. It becomes something it becomes another child. I don't know if you have any children, but
yeah.
if you do or don't, it becomes another child or whatever you're working on, your project. It becomes
Yes.
something larger than life. It becomes on its own. And it becomes at a point though that you do step back and you're like, wow, people actually like this. Because there'll be episodes or there'll be issues or there'll be parts that you'll just dislike yourself altogether, and somebody else will just love that, and you're just like, really? Okay, you just roll with it.
You know, I think the funniest thing is there's a part in the second book, and I had a close friend read it, and he was like, I literally threw the book when I read that part. Like, I threw the book physically away. I didn't want it anywhere near me because it was that upsetting. And he's like, I picked it back up. Like, I was like, okay, good.
What are you writing, like Serbian film level stuff? What are
I
you
mean,
getting into here?
there's a so my detective, Inspector Gerard Renault, he's very brooding, has really difficult backstory. So I was trying to kind of get into what's happened to him, and it kind of shows how he got initiated into this life, and it's a little rough. So I was like,
It's not for everyone.
it's not for everybody. I was like, you know what, but you know, it's like we're trying to. As long as it works in the story, I'm fine with it. I'm not a person that does gore for gore's sake, you know. But I think it's important that we know what the stakes are.
No need to do gore for gore's sake. No need to do things just to do them, I would say, either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Whether it's writing horror, whether it's video, whatever it is, unless, I mean, like I said, that's the purpose. A, you need the scene that involves it, or B, you're writing a gory flick or you're writing a gory story just for the fact of making it gory. You're writing something shocking.
Well, you know what's funny is like the second book, I didn't consider it like horror, and then it got to like really high on the bestseller list in like I think ghost stories or something, and I was like, is there a ghost in this book? Like, I guess technically there's somebody who kind of shows up at a fortune teller, but I was like, huh, okay, I'll take it, thanks.
One time I was number 3 in all the podcasts of Saudi Arabia for sports entertainment.
Look at you. Okay.
I was doing good in Saudi, and I was like number 25 in America on podcasts for sports and wrestling, and then I did okay in the UK as well. But and I don't know where he went again, but Vic is constantly in the top 10 of like South Korea.
Really?
Yeah, on Spotify. We never know why, but always ranking charts.
That's so interesting.
It is, because I just wonder what they would find entertaining about it, whether either they're Americans abroad or they're people that find entertaining. But
yeah, that's interesting.
Is there any ghosts in your stories?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of people are haunted, so I don't know if that counts. But I have a lot of PTSD. I have a lot of people who, you know, I have people who have trauma where they can't remember stuff. I have people who have trauma who the trauma is just walking around with them all the time. So I could see it. I was just like, wow, that's kind of different, you know.
So would you say trauma is the common trope in the stories, basically?
I mean, I think it's something that unites a lot of the characters, you know, because my psychologist, she's been through a lot of trauma. So that kind of informs her work and informs what she does next, which is really cool, you know.
I mean, trauma also, unfortunately, it also brings people together. There's a lot of people that have suffered.
It does.
Various different issues. And when they do get brought up, yes, sometimes it hurts and sometimes you want to throw it aside. But other times it's like, oh, wow, I get this. This person understands this. Right. And you start to feel kind of a little bit better about the situation. You don't feel so alone. Well, and I think that's the whole point of, you know, right now in the world is no one should feel alone. Like,
absolutely, 100%. Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, I know you say you're in psychology, but overall, there's a very shortage of psychologists, therapists, everything going on down the line. There's a huge shortage. So, like, I try to make sure that, you know, I keep my DMs, I keep things open so people can just talk and rant, rave, and go on. because everybody should have someone to just rant and rave to without being judged and looked down
Yes,
upon. You
absolutely. I
know,
agree with you. Yeah.
um, and a lot of the professional service, even for myself, got cut just because the funding went to like drug addiction. And they were like, mental health is out, drug addiction's in, and I got
Very
swiped
true.
to the side, and I'm like, okay, well,
Well, that's the
you
thing.
know,
I think it's really hard. I think we have a shortage of people in my field, which is really unfortunate. But I also think part of what I try to write about is the idea that people are all of us are dealing with something. We're trying to help each other. So I hope the books are places where if people are going through that, they can feel heard and they can feel like, hey, there are other people who get this, and there are other people like the psychologist Ellie Bryn. She has sessions with people in the book. She gives actual advice. She gives you actual coping skills, but not in a way where it's like whacking you over the head. It's more like, well, this is how we could handle this, and at the same time, you see her falling apart because she's got her own stuff. So, you know.
and it's a nice way to kind of do it, though, because, like I said, I think a lot of people that might be dealing with whatever issues going on or reading about it might find that useful. Or even just, just seeing it being a knowledge written somewhere, talked about.
Mhm.
Because a lot of this stuff used to be stigmas. If we were doing an
Yeah.
interview 20 years ago, we wouldn't even be mentioning the A word, anxiety. Like, well,
Oh
I'm
my gosh,
anxious.
yeah, come on.
Oh, God, I don't have anxiety. What are you talking about? No,
Right,
I'm
right.
just fidgety. I'm fit. No, I have ADHD. Like, it was almost easier to say you had, the attention deficit disorder than say that you're nervous.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think that, and like you said, there was a huge stigma. And I mean, there was even a huge stigma for working in the field. And, I mean, it's very different the way that we treat them now, as far as like diagnoses and how we work with people, you know.
Well, yeah, and realize like that it involves different symptoms. Anxiety can 1 minute be anxiety, but it has a range. Anxiety goes from like all the way to raging anger, all the way down to low depression, and it's all
Absolutely.
still anxiety.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. And it's funny because, like you said, it's very nuanced. There's a lot going on. So it's hard to kind of figure that out. You know what I mean?
No, it is. But it's kind of cool that you're able to take a lot of, like you said, what you do in the real world, and then take your creative side and put them together. They will be back, I believe. We'll give them 1 second here. Let me see. Let me see if she lost internet. Mm. Let's see. Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back. I didn't know what went on. I didn't know the interview. All it said was something about reconnecting your device. I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It must have just the Wi Fi must have just spun or something.
Sometimes it happens, and it's like, okay, as long as they come back. And
That's all that matters.
it's bad when they don't come back, because then you don't know if you said something or if they,
Oh, my.
if they got kidnapped, they got murdered. You don't know what's going on now at that point.
Given what I write about, those are both, it could be happening. Yes, true.
Yeah,
So,
it all could happen. Anything could happen. Watching as much horror as I do, anything can happen, I guess. I mean, technically. I wouldn't say it probably, but technically. See that, and that's the difference with a lot of that's what makes a lot of the horror movies either very scary or just okay. It's like if they technically can happen, eh. But if it probably can happen, then it becomes a whole different story. I think that's why Jaws was so successful, because it probably could happen that a shark could eat you.
well, and I think that's where psychological thrillers come in because, like you said, it's much more interesting if it's something that can get you. It's like, okay, if you're afraid of Freddy Krueger, maybe stay off Elm Street. Maybe don't sleep a lot, whatever. But if it's something where it's somebody that or it's somebody who's just kind of innocuous, or it's somebody that you might trust and then you shouldn't have. I think that's what we're looking at. These are kind of like almost modern day Grimm's fairy tales, where essentially we're trying to warn each other about the dangers in the environment, and we're doing it in a way that's sort of entertaining.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, I think horror's tried to portray warnings one way or the other. Whether
Yeah.
it's premarital sex in the '80s or it's
Oh, golly.
don't do this in the '90s, or the drugs or whatever it is.
Mhm.
They've tried to send messages of being good or doing something. Some have done much better though, and have really shown good good messages at the end of their movies or good message at the end of their stories that are like, wow, makes you think and change the whole way you think about life sometimes.
Definitely.
That's the cool thing. I think a lot about it is it's not life changing, but it just changed perception because you get to see things from different point of views that you normally would never even see or think of.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting because it kind of lets your mind go to some different places. And like you said, if you have things in your life that are actively bothering you or frightening you, now you have something else to kind of occupy that space for a little bit of time. And I think that's comforting, in its own way. It's like I would much rather, sit down and, when I read something where my heart is just racing for, whatever the character is, because I'm one of those people, like I'll stay up all night reading because I will not leave a character like on the floor in danger. I'm like, no, I have to find out what happens. Like I have to stay, you know. But I feel like that's one of those things where I really hope that that's something that then the next day, even though you're tired, you enjoyed it and it was meaningful to you.
Let me ask you something, because I got mixed emotion about it. Some of the times I like things that just be bleak and not so happy, but other times it's fine. Do all your books usually have like a happy ending, or do we have some like Eden Lake kind of endings where people are just like goodbye?
I mean, I tend to. So I love me a cliffhanger. I got to be honest with you. Like because life is messy, and I don't like things to be tied up neatly. I like there to be problems because that's just what the world is. So generally speaking, my books kind of what ends up happening is we usually end with more problems that have been created. Maybe some were fixed. It's funny because that's why there are more books. Because when I wrote the first book, you know how you do it. You like talk to a couple of your friends. You're like, oh, could you look at this? And you're kind of worried you're like William Hung or something, and they're gonna be like, ooh, like, why did you write that? And then they said, wow, what happens next? I want to see the next book. Like, what's gonna happen? So I kind of endeavor to always give you a little bit of a hint, like this, because these people's lives are going to continue. There's this. It's an interesting phrase. It's called loose left, and it's this phrase that this author came up with, which is the feeling of loss when a book ends and you don't know what happened to the characters or you can't be with them anymore. So I always like my readers to know, like, we're coming back, and every book on the first page, it says for you, because I think everybody deserves a book dedicated to them.
You just don't want to be kidnapped like Misery. You don't want some Kathy Bates to be holding you hostage, telling you to finish writing.
I gotta be honest, if anyone is gonna kidnap me, I would be fine with Kathy Bates. I like her. I think she would be great. I would also accept maybe Thor. Just because I feel like eventually he'd do the right thing.
Everything but the 2x4 is fine, okay?
Yeah, the 2x4 was a little. I mean, to be fair, ankling somebody's pretty rough. So, like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be hobbled. That seems like a horrible way to go. I did consider that once for someone in one of my books, and went, I just can't. Like, oh, so I just couldn't do it. I'm like, it's too much.
I've only seen it done that one time in that movie. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else.
I mean, it's a practice that was used, like early in the 20s, and it's essentially it was kind of thought of something that was done as more of like a mob practice, and we have some evidence of that, but it doesn't mean that it was always happening. So we don't see it a lot in like modern day cinema, and I don't know that's typically used because, to be fair, it's really visceral. You know what I mean? It's just such a horrific idea that happened. And even I love that the camera pulls away because that makes it so much worse. It's just like, oh my God, you just see the look on his face and you're like, oh, this was awful. Like, what did you do? Like, oh.
Yeah, it's one of those scenes that you still remember. I remember as a kid, it was probably the most horrific scene I've seen.
Oh, it was
just
awful.
Because of that. And I've watched crazy ass movies with crazy ass scenes, but there's nothing like just something like that that's so almost like bone crunching realism that you know that it's gotta hurt, that it could happen.
Well, and like you said, that I think is the most important point is when something can happen, I think that makes it much more scary. You know what I mean? And it's kind of that's why I kind of like doing some that were off the beaten path because like, werewolves and vampires and things like that, that's very different than, my typical criminal is, Ellie Bryn has a long history of being with foster parents that were really horrific. So the idea of like someone who's taking in a child and what could they do to this child, or the idea of, Renald's father, just mistreating him. Like, what is it like when, the guy that you're working with is not on the up and up? It's
Yeah,
kind of
but you gotta. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, what's more scary to a parent? Megan is missing, or Dracula.
right. I
It's like
mean,
they're gonna worry about the vampire coming through the night, or are they gonna guard what their kids doing on the internet?
that's a
It
great point.
it's like you got to kind of pick and choose. But when you start to talk about things that can induce real fear, it also is a good way to bring awareness to stuff. It's also a good way to bring awareness. And what you sound like it's doing is bringing awareness to a lot of different ailments, illnesses, things that aren't normally talked about, probably aren't in the open, aren't normally in books, aren't. But you've done it in a way that it's just all woven together in a complex universe.
Well, I like the idea of like you said, the idea that there are these things that do happen. They do happen to people. They happen to people all the time. We don't talk about them, and I think it's important that we have those discussions, that we let each other know that, yeah, I get this happens to people. And even if you can't say it to another person, like you can see in the book, you're not by yourself. And, these people are still going forward and they're still having a life. And they're struggling. There are days that they can't get out of their own way. I mean, I have characters in the book who are actively contemplating, like, are they going to end their lives? Are they going to relapse? Are they going to, do they even want to do this anymore? And, kind of normalizing that discussion of, we don't always have to be happy, shiny people. We don't have to wake up in the morning and be like, yay, let's go, Airbuds for everybody. Like, no, that's not normal.
Let me ask you: is Joseph McDonald the friend that you gave the book to?
Yes.
Okay, because he wrote it. It wasn't Serbian. He wrote it wasn't Serbian, but it was close.
Wow. Okay, he's bringing it. All right, I like it.
It's gotta be. I gotta read this. I gotta read this book and see what's the shock and rock is.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
That's
yeah,
great.
there are parts. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to coming to your booth and grabbing some books. I mean, I got some time to read. This is the season.
Definitely. This is the time, I mean, I feel like it's always, I mean, I love reading, so I'll read kind of anything all the time, but it's one of those things where, I like to really get in there and really enjoy the characters. And I find it interesting because I have some people who really get into the characters and they suggest like things for the characters. I have one, Marcus gets like people who talk about him, which I think is great. Like he's a person, and to me, he is,
Have you got anybody to role play the characters yet?
No, but that would be super cool. That would be so much fun. We have some cool book trailers and TikToks and stuff where we imagine what they would look like. So it'd be so cool to see.
Because I was just wondering, because there was one author I interviewed about 4 years ago now. She did a wrestling novel. It was a wrestling crime novel. But before they even did it, the person that they made like the heroine of the book, they modeled after a real person that they would have like just bring around. So it was like this real life person. Amber was like going around and doing like all the promoting for it. It was cool to see that kind of meta broken.
I like that. It's really cool.
But it sounds like that's what you're doing now with the merge game and bringing stuff out of that world and into the physical world, to get people into these cards, to get people into, these scenarios and what's going on. Now, you said this is your first con. When did you first publish your books?
So I published this is kind of wild. So I published the first book May 28th of this year. I published the second one in July, and then this one came out a week ago. So Yeah, so I'm a weird person. I wrote them all like kind of at the same time and then took different parts because I have all these arcs. So I have like 18 different books that are all kind of like actively going and then they move. And I was terrified to publish anything. So when I got like the push to publish, because it did well, it got into the bestsellers, on Amazon, I was kind of shocked. I already had the material. So, my LD was like, do it. She's like, just put it out there. If people actually want to read it, go for it. And it's been like terrifying. So
it was so quick, I guess. I mean, I guess if you were like, I guess if it was like you grounded and you were on the slump for like 2 years and all of a sudden, things started to slowly roll. But like 3 months is a great turnaround time to be top selling, to move up and just get going. But it sounds like you're doing it like a movie director style. You're writing everything in just scenes, and then you place all the scenes in an editor and just bring it all together.
And just like throw them all. So it's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing today. Like, okay, we gotta move this for Lilith, or we gotta move Renault over here. And it's kind of fun because I feel like all my characters kind of have places they want to go. So when they figure out where they want to go, I'm like, okay, cool, let's do this. And I'm having the worst time.
You could take all the source material and rewrite them all.
This is making me crazy. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you could take all the source material, rewrite them.
It's interesting because I think there's a place where, like, the first 2 books are a little longish. I think, even me, I think they're a little longish. It was just hard to cut them because there was so much backstory I wanted to get. And that might be something, like you said, eventually it gets, like, rewritten or moved. But I do think, the other ones, because each book is kind of like its own little mini series, so it's like
so what you do is you do a director's cut and then you do a prequel. And you just cut half of it into the prequel and you write the rest of it as it was supposed to be.
Well, it's funny because I have a prequel because the name of my team is the Spooks. So it's SPKS, which is a special peacekeeping squad. So they do like they do terrorism runs, they do detective work, they do all kinds of stuff. But I have written a prequel where it's like how the initial people met, and looking at them at 17 as opposed to now is very interesting because it's like, okay, now they've kind of figured it out, but what would it be like if they didn't have some of the contacts they have, or they didn't have some of like the weaponry they have, or any of the tech they have? Like, they just have to rely on other stuff. And there's kind of a fun scene where Marcus hits somebody for the first time, and he's a genius in regard to music. So he actually goes to Europe because he's learning about music schools, and he wants to hit somebody really bad because everybody protects his hands all the time. And he's just like, oh, it must be so cool to hit somebody. And then he does, and it really hurts. And it's just so unsettling for him. It's like such a downer because he's like, oh, like, I'm so excited, I finally hit somebody. And he's just like, why do people do that? Like, why? Like, we need weapons. What's going on?
Now, speaking of like technology and stuff, do you think that's something that's like hard to work around, or been hard, or would be hard to work around, or even like in writing or in whatever, because of technology, things aren't as scary? We don't have to rely on a paper map that doesn't work. We got,
that's true,
an automated system. We got GPSs, we got smartphones, we got all this stuff that, like, 80s horror, if you watch, didn't have things. Being remote, being lost in the woods with a paper map was a terrifying idea.
Right? That's terrifying. Yeah, that's a good point. I do think that you're right. I think we have to work within it. I prefer to use the tech to frighten us. So, like in Deception, the idea of, like, Ellie gets this link for a horror website, and, she goes on and it's like, ooh, come to the website, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, thank you. And, like, obviously swipes it away, and it finds her, and then it will tell her where she is, and it will tell her what she's doing, and it will tell her who she's with. I like to do that. I like to take the tech and make it very unsettling. So it's like,
where is gone wrong? That's the scary part. What happens if these, AIs become autonomous, start doing evil shit? I mean, that's where the world and people get weirded out. Internet stories are really spooky because, you never know if they're real or fake. People go to these weird websites. You see something creepy. You don't know what it is. all of a sudden people are disappearing. You never hear from them again. You don't know if it's just some creepy pasta or if it really happened.
Right.
So I guess using the tech to your advantage, it works if you do it that way.
Well, and I think you're right. I think there's a very, because my team is very technologically apt, like they have times where, tech can work for you or tech can work against you, and if the tech starts working against you, how many Terminator movies do we need to have before we figure out we should not be trusting the tech? Legit.
I don't know, Victor, then how many Terminator movies do we need to have before we don't trust the tech?
1, maybe 2. No, 2.
Very nice. Agreed.
Well, yeah, I mean, and well, I mean, in a lot of movies, if you watch it over and over again, if they did one or two key things in like the first 5 minutes, we wouldn't have had 2 hours of them being tortured and murdered and brutally killed either.
I mean,
also, it's interesting that you see Terminator 2 that's a Skynet, and you're like, okay, Skynet, it's a funny name, but the number one defense system in the United States is called Skynet.
Right? Irony is lovely.
Just saying, it's like.
They do this stuff. They do this stuff on purpose. That's for fun. So conspiracy theorists can write stuff and get all weirded out. They do it on purpose.
The catchphrase in my book, the phrase that the spooks use to identify each other is they say it's only paranoia until it's true. So
right? It almost like you got you're talking about this group technologically impaired working together doing this stuff. It's almost like you got like the cool Mystery Inc.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yes. There's lots of. I mean, it's all very Scooby. So.
I was getting that vibe as you were talking about, and they're doing this and coming together, and what would they do without this? And each one's bringing their own little thing, and it's kind of the same, You have each of those guys doing this thing, and they all work together. And who doesn't like a good mystery? Who doesn't like a good, who done it? Who doesn't like a good twist ending of what the hell? I mean, I think those are my first twist endings with the Scooby-Doo, because I was like,
yes.
I wasn't expecting Mr. George Green to be the, killer. We're like, oh my God.
It's like a Saw series. It's like a Saw series. The first Saw was such a mind fuck.
Yeah.
And then the second and third one was like, it was cute but more gory.
No,
second
one though, the attic, she tripped it out because you know what she had to go through, and you were like, you really weren't expecting that. But nothing was like the first one, having the person dead the whole time.
That was awesome. That was such an amazing idea. And I mean, wow, that was so cool. Like you said, that once they got past one, it kind of just became body horror and very, very visceral horror, which.
Well, I think with a lot of these horrors, what you have to do, and it's going to happen, it's happened with Terrifier too, that they just got to one up each other. You're going to have bloodier kill scenes, and now it just becomes a shock film. What can we get away on camera?
Well, it's funny too, because I feel like even in novels, it's like, when you do something or you do a fun twist, there's that idea of like, how do you outdo yourself the next time? And I think you're right. I think that can be, kind of unsettling. And like in Deception, I know like in the first read, I was like, it's just not like, it's not punchy enough. It's not getting there. And I went online and I started looking at, I don't know if you've done this, but if you look at pictures of abandoned amusement parks, like they are so unsettling. So it created like a whole new place to kind of go and create a little bit more there, just because I like the books to be really cinematic, and I like you to be really immersed in it. So you're really there and you feel like, oh, wow, I'm in this tunnel of love thing. And I'm seeing like this dragon head, like come out of the water and like, it's coming right for me and it's spitting stuff. And like, what is happening? I like that in a book. I like it to really get me.
And that's all from Nirvana and Disneyland?
Right? All Kurt, no hurt. There you go.
Yeah, that was. And it's a little faded, so it's like, wait a minute, the dates don't match up. He wasn't alive then. This is now paranormal.
There you go. You're like, whoo. It's like when that alligator ate that kid and then we all forgot about it, which was weird. So,
But how many
My
people
question is, Vasashi, is where are you right now?
I'm in the horror house.
In the
The house
horror
of
house?
horrors. In the house of horrors,
Listen-
baby.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I was curious.
So you know how many people have freaked out about like just the Beatles album cover? They're like, oh, this guy got no shoes. This guy's got shoes. This guy's dead alive.
I'm just making sure because we're supposed to get together tomorrow night. I don't have to drive over there, get you out of the House of Horrors, go through all the bullshit, through the ghosts and demons or whatever, and just get you. It's like I don't want to deal with that. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
No, you'll be
I thought I'm
good.
doing couple
I think life in
shows.
general. You just want to deal with people or whatever like that. See what demons go. I don't want to fucking deal with that. I'm like,
Why though? Demons are better than people.
Yeah, but it's like same. And when you deal with one, you deal with them all.
You get straight to well, yes, the Legion, they're many, but that's not the point here. The point is that at least the demon's gonna get straight to the point. They're not gonna bullshit you.
That's true. Demons don't really beat around the bush, which is helpful. It's not like, someone who's just going to mess with you for a while.
Yeah, but in the world we live in today, do you think that someone that does like drugs, like heavy drugs, like homeless, don't they become demons themselves?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of theories about that, right? And there's a lot of theories, like if you look at Dante's Inferno, like there's a lot of theories that is its own demonic possession. So,
I believe that. Yeah, I don't
chemically induced.
See, no, they're not demons. What it is that the substance that you're using, whether it's heroin, methamphetamine, whatever it is, got such a hold. Even nicotine, these are demons. And when you become addicted so badly that it's almost the same as a parallel as being possessed. You'll do crazy things. You will do whatever you want to get that feeling. Well, it's a terrible life.
Oh, it's absolutely horrible. It's hell on earth when people get it's terrible. But like you said, it's a brain reaction.
And most of the time, it's not something that people even choose. Most of the time, it's like, oh, I was in pain for 7 months. I was on pain pills, and now I don't do this.
That's the worst.
I went, especially out in my area. It's like it's so many stories like that, so many tragic endings because people overdose. It's just like, it's sad. But every person that I know, the ones that have passed, the ones that are still with us, the ones that have, I would say, beat their demons. None of them were demons. None of them were bad people. They were all, good people. They came from good homes. They came from good places. They weren't like street people that were just always criminals. None of them were criminals. They did criminal activity to gain the substance, but prior to that, they were normal people.
I think it's important that we always see people as people and not their diagnosis. We're all people at our core, and we make good choices, we make bad choices, absolutely, at the end of the day. And you're responsible for the choices that you make. But you're a person first. Your symptoms are your symptoms, but it's not who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not PTSD. I'm me, right. But I have such and such. I have this, like somebody has, diabetes and has that. Mm-hmm. We all have different things, but it doesn't define us, so we shouldn't let it define us. The minute we let it define us, we lose all power. We're powerless.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think people get stuck in the world. That's where you get people that get like, almost comatose because they've lost their power to whatever that they were fighting. And it's like they have to regain themselves and refine themselves and battle their own demon, per se. Mm-hmm. And once you get past all that, then you're almost liberated again because you realize that you're not your diagnosis. You're not your illness. You're much bigger than that. It's just a little part of you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very true. And I think it's important, when we're all supporting each other, that idea of how do we help each other and, how much grace do we give each other? Because, the world is pretty rough out there. So, that's why I love horror, because it's like in horror, nobody cares where you're coming from and nobody cares where you went to school or where you lived or anything. I just like that you like the same horror that I like. And that's awesome. And we can totally connect on that. And that's really good.
Exactly. I mean, you go to these conventions, there's a long line in almost every place you go, but almost everybody will sit and talk to you. They'll talk about what merch they collect. You'll talk to other collectors. Everybody's a fan of this. They love this movie. They'll tell you their favorite scene. They'll tell you who they like. They'll tell you everything about it. There's people of all different ages. Is everybody friendly? No, but neither is anybody rude. If they don't want to talk, just be like busy.
Yeah.
Where I've been to other places and people just straight up rude. They'll tell you to F off or whatever. So it's like, it's a totally weird scene to me, because everybody is, once you step into those doors, are like a total just packaged family. It's wild.
Well, it's kind of fun because like my group of people, like they kind of joke amongst themselves. They're like, we're just weirdos. Like, we're all weird. It's fine. And like you said, it takes all people. Like, all people are coming, and I'm actually really excited to be part of it, because I've been to Comic Cons and I've been to different cons. So it's really weird to be on the other side of the con, and like, it's so different when you're just like walking, and like you said, you're looking at the merch, you're having a good time, and you're kind of like, oh, this is my thing. I like those things. I know, like the last Comic Con I went to, someone was dressed as Doctor Who, but it was David Tennant's Doctor Who, and I swear to you, he looked just like him, and I was like, holy cow, I just saw David Tennant. And then I was like, I'm going to put David Tennant in my trunk, and I'm bringing him home. So I was like, okay, maybe no, and I did go up to him and I was like, you are just so good at this. And he was like an amazing cosplayer at it, but it's so much fun to just do that, and be part of it.
Is there anybody at TerraCon this year that you think you're going to go and meet?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm like an old school Elvira fan, so that's pretty awesome. But there are so many great people. It's actually kind of like intimidating, I know, like when I saw my name go up, I was like, wow, like this is crazy that this is even happening and that I'm part of this group. So
it is. It's a great con. You got all sorts of like different genres, everywhere from like Frankenhooker to Elvira. It's wild.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I said, I'm going that Saturday, so like I pre-purchased most of the people I wanted to meet, and then anybody else I'll just kind of walk around. Unfortunately, I can't do it the Sundays. I gotta go to Maine, but one of my friends, good friend, he's gonna be doing the panel for Frankenhooker the Sunday.
Hold on, rewind for this a second. You have to go to Maine. Why do you have to go to Maine?
So I'm meeting Annabelle. I told you that.
But like, Annabelle's like kind of like, with all due respect to our guest tonight, Annabelle's kind of like elite right now. It's like top of the top. So it's like, why are you saying like, I'm just going to Maine? See Annabelle. Well, Comic-Con,
it's at the paranormal event. I mean, I'm gonna go there early, and I was gonna check out, like there's a couple of ghost hunting panels and just different panels. Consider various differential than the horror panels, which are usually more, like the last one I went to was independent film, which was a great panel.
Yeah.
But it's different than, three ghost hunters telling, the dangers of ghost hunting. But a lot of the horror actors are up there too. You got CJ Graham up there. You got, Tyree. I don't know. There's a whole list of them. A lot of them that Saturday, unfortunately, we're going to be doing the photo ops in character. Like CJ Graham was going to dress up as Jason and doing pro photo ops.
Nice.
I like the pro photo ops. If they're gonna be in character, like I am excited for the Frankenhooker one in character because they're in character. I did Leatherface at the last one with at Monster, and it's just fun.
But if you mind quickly, if I can ask Miss Winters a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
With all these, rumors you hear about, people seeing the Annabelle doll, like misfortunes happen to them, like some deaths or whatever like that. Do you believe that actually happens?
Well, it's interesting because I will say in my research, there are a lot of interesting things about cursed objects, right? And we have interesting data about cursed objects going back to like Mesopotamian times. So that's what I find super interesting. So on the one hand, psychologically, I think if you think it's going to come and get you, it's probably going to come and get you. But on the other hand, there's a lot of things we can't explain in this world, And I mean, I have seen some weird things. I mean, yes, there's coincidence, but we can't prove or disprove it. And we don't want to fall into the fallacy of that. So it's like, At the end of the day, because honestly, I've had a couple of patients say to me, like, should I go see the Annabelle doll? Should I go see, Robert the doll? And I'll kind of say, why do you want to see it? And if you want to see it because in your mind, that's something that's important to you, that's totally cool. And if you know that it could be something bad and you accept it, that's cool too. But I also have people who like to collect things that are haunted. And I work with priests who get rid of things that are haunted. So,
well, I mean, like voodoo, it only
But if
works
anything
if you
happens to
believe.
Versace when he sees him when he sees Annabelle September 7th, if anything happens to him because of seeing Annabelle, and it proves that, what's happening isn't a coincidence, it's actually, she's evil, I'll be looking for a new co-host of VTV. Would you be interested?
I will absolutely. I will also write a wonderful book about what his experience was. Because we need to expose that. Absolutely. I'm with you.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
That would be great. But no, honestly, I mean, I'm a fan of the Warrens, and that's how it all started. I saw The Conjuring. I became a fan of actually like true horror or horror that was based on true story.
Yeah.
And so I started watching Conjuring, and then I started watching the Annabelle doll movies and so forth. And at this time, the Warrens were still alive, and the museum was still open. I really wanted to go see the museum as being a person of, you see these stories, you see a lot of movies, you hear a lot of things, but you want to see the backstory. Like I've been to Lizzie Borden's house. That's not too far.
Right.
I go to Salem quite often. There's a lot of different spirits down there, good or bad. There's something about seeing these places that if you're a fan of the horror movie or whatever, the fiction, then you want to see the lore.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. 100%.
Hold on, I gotta see what's going on. We got a fire alarm. See, you mentioned Annabelle, now I got a fire alarm.
Annabelle, there all of a sudden,
Oh, strike one. Strike one.
Let me ask you. I mean, you see Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And you see about pleasure and pain that relates to, like, in some people's point of view, like, bondage.
Yeah.
Do you believe that to be true? Like, pleasure and pain is one, like horror and sex is one, the dark side of the yin compared to the yang?
I think for some people, the issue is what we experience as pleasure tends to be very unique to us. So if for an example, you're someone that experiences pleasure at a time when pain is put on at the same time, it's like the first time it's a very significant experience of pleasure, you can then get routed toward that. So then, yes, that does happen. I mean, whether it's, sadism, masochism, sadomasochism, just depending. And I mean, obviously there's a very large community of people, who work with that. So I think I do like what you raised about the Hellraiser idea, because the whole idea of the dudek boxes is super interesting. I might be saying it wrong.
The dudek box. And you want to talk about a dudek box? It's funny because I was watching Tubi the other day, and there was about 5 movies, all about the same exact movie. Different names, different actors, same damn plot, all about a YouTuber that opens a dudek box, and they all do the same thing. They got the reader, they got this, and they got that. Now, I'll be honest with you. I went after watching all 5 of these early in the mornings. I wake up super early sometimes, 3:30, 4, and I can't get back to sleep. So they were only like 40 minutes long, some of them. I watched them all. I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do this myself. I'm not going to buy one. I'm not going to the deep web. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a moron. I'm not trying to have the feds knock on my door. I mean,
good call.
If I needed really spooky stuff, I probably would go to somebody in Salem and be like, hey, can you get me such and such and so and so?
They would be able to get it.
They'd be able to do it before me going and messing around in federal territory. But I said, let me try to make my own. How hard can it be?
Interesting.
And I seen what all these had in common and what was in each one of these. There was nothing rotten. There was nothing crazy. There was nothing whatever to it. So I found a nice box, put a few items in there. I looked up a few incantations.
Oh gosh.
I performed a few rituals upon the box.
This took a turn.
I bound the box.
Okay, good.
I bound it in wax afterwards.
Okay.
I buried the box for 30 days, moon cycle to moon cycle.
You really did this.
I did this.
You really researched. Nice.
I unearthed the box and I bring out all the gear, hoping that, maybe that little detector would give a... No, that didn't do a damn thing. I was mad.
Aw, that's a lot of work.
I mean, not to mention that I had put over about 15 little silk bags of cemetery dirt from 15 different cemetery plots, 2 of them known to be haunted.
Oh, wow.
While performing the necromancy, while performing everything.
Yikes.
And still, I couldn't get the meter to go. I was kind of bummed. I was hoping I had a Daiku box. Yeah. I was hoping I had a Daiku box. I was going to put it on eBay. I was going to retire. I was going to just go to cons the rest of my life. I was good.
There you go.
Sell it for that $9,999 price to say good luck and be gone.
I mean, honestly, extreme A for effort. You did a lot of research. You did a lot of work. I'm really sorry that didn't work, I guess, but maybe it's good.
I guess. I mean, maybe I'll try again. I don't know. I mean, maybe I not press my luck. I figured I'd give it a go. I'm a go-getter. I would say I'll always try it once.
That's good. That's good.
But I mean, as it comes to Annabelle, will I go there and mess around? No. Would I ever the Warrens weren't against Annabelle being seen. They never said that Annabelle shouldn't be seen. This wasn't a law of the land.
Well, the story that we hear is pain against the case, But
there's 2 things happen there. First of all, Annabelle was told that it had specific rules. Like a gremlin. Don't feed after midnight. Don't do this. Don't open the cage. Don't play with the doll. Don't hold the doll. Mm-hmm. You do these things, and there's consequence. This is an action and reaction issue here. If you don't do these things, then it doesn't happen. A lot of people were on that tour. A lot of people saw Annabelle. Only one guy died.
Good point.
That's not bad odds. Not to mention that he also had cocaine in the room. We're not going to talk about that.
Was Annabelle doing the cocaine?
That we don't know.
Okay. These are the questions we need answered.
But if she was, then I feel like Annabelle would then get into Chucky territory, and we would have a whole new series.
So, did you see there was actually during the summer, Chucky and Annabelle had a little fling going online on Instagram? It was really fun.
I did see that. That was interesting. That was interesting. But I don't know. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, no matter how the guy passed, it's sad that he passed. But what will sound better? What will sell more tickets? And to be honest with you, what would he even want? He would want to say the ghost took him out.
That's probably true. That was probably the way he wanted to go, to be fair. I mean, if we're just being honest. I mean. And
what's going to sell more for the tour? That some guy that was out of shape had a heart, or this doll mysteriously killed, and this guy we don't know how. I mean, yeah.
I mean, no one shows up for the guy who appropriately died from medical issues.
That's boring. We need the doll.
Nobody cares about that.
But if it was that haunted, it would have taken more than just one person. It would have took the whole room. The whole place would have burnt down. We would have had the whole place just up in flames. 100 lost today.
Well, this is essentially the haunted doll problem, let's say, right? Because if you have a haunted doll, someone has to take care of said haunted doll, right? It's not just chilling by itself. It's not going to drive cars and stuff. So someone is taking care of it.
Can I mention one thing, though? What we hear or see on social media about, what the possible deaths this could cause, that's just what we see. What's going on, what we don't see behind the scenes? Because those numbers that only 2 people died, in reality it's probably 4 or 5.
Or none.
Or none. It's possible.
I mean, how many places, how many companies, and how many organizations inflate numbers?
Well, I
You
think
talk
that,
about it. You talk about WWE all the time, Vic, inflating numbers.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, Annabelle is more. It's a piece of, you know, it's an artifact. You mentioned earlier going back to Mesopotamian times. You know, what was ancient Egypt all about? What was opening these tombs about? These ancient curses, these cursed ruby rings, all of these things. You know, my grandmother was from Italy, and you know, she came, you know, here when she was, you know, younger, and had my mom and so forth. Very strong believer in gypsies. She said because where they lived in the mountainside, a lot of gypsies.
makes sense.
There was a lot of curses going on and a lot of things happening and evil eyes, and she believed in that stuff. And you know, if you know, I love, actually, that's one of my favorite genres, I think, is folklore horror, because it gets into these like civilizations that like it's almost scary because they believe it's scary.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
It's like you said, you know, it's like voodoo. You know, they say if you believe in it, then it's going to happen. You know, it's like, it's the same thing with a lot of this. And if you have that feeling, yes, it makes it more scary. Am I scared to see Annabelle? No, because I'm going to follow whatever guidelines they say. I'm not going to go in there and like, oh, hold the doll and start doing dances.
I would be the same way. I wouldn't be, but I would just be like, whoa.
They also didn't make me sign no waiver, which if it was really dangerous, don't you think I would have to sign a waiver?
Good point, because I ran Tough Mudders before, and they made you sign something called a death waiver.
Yes, they do. There's that haunted house that makes you sign a waiver.
Yes.
But it's always like a waiver. Tough Mudders death waiver.
I mean, I mean, technically, you would have a bigger lawsuit than they got against Hulk Hogan if Annabelle gets me.
Honestly, I think Death Waiver is a great name for a band if they haven't done it yet.
That is a great name for a band.
Yeah, you know.
A good name for a title of a movie too.
Death Waiver. There you go. You guys are giving me titles for movies here. We're gonna go.
Well, I just bought a Black Magic Pro, and I'm in the market to make some short films. Death Wave would be a great short 20-minute film.
There you go.
But
you know,
yeah,
I like the whole idea because like part of one of the big killings and deception takes place in a haunted house. And you know, so what happens is like while the killer's killing people, he's just putting them amongst the displays, so you don't recognize that they're bodies, you know. And it's funny because I worked in a haunted house when I was in college, and this actually happened. It was very unsettling. So you guys know, like when you work in a haunted house, obviously you have like certain characters, right? And we had the same guy who played Michael Myers every night. He was really, really good. So one night I was like hiding in my little perch, right? You know, doing my psychology research for fear. And I see the dude go by. So I'm like, hey, Mark, what's up? Nothing. I'm like, oh. Because it wasn't abnormal for people to show up in costume because they come from like, you know, wherever. So they come in like fully dressed. So I'm like, hey, nothing happened. So we had like all these back corners we could go through. So I went through the back corners to try to find him again. So I went to another spot and I hollered again. Nothing. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is somebody else. Like someone's come in dressed as Michael Myers. And of course, because it's me, we're all going to die. So I went like security. I was like, oh my gosh. And it turned out it was somebody else who had just randomly shown up. He did in fact have a weapon. It was a whole thing. So I'm like a big Death Waiver.
You had a real weapon, like a real knife too?
Yeah, I had a real knife. We were like, okay, like this is amazing. Yeah, so it was something.
At least bring the prop knife though, jeez.
Yeah, do that at least. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on.
If you're gonna go all out, at least don't get arrested going all out.
Well, yeah, don't be an idiot. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, but yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. My friend said that. Well, the other night that I made, you know, the Odell. I think it's the Odells. They got the song "I Touch Myself."
Oh, the Divinals, yeah.
Yeah, the Divinals. I keep calling them Odells. I don't know why. So I did a little skit, and I was doing it wearing my beautiful leather. I don't even know if it's going to be shown, but...
Oh, that's a lovely leather face mask.
Yeah, it's like the pretty lady one. So I was doing a dance, and my friend was like, you know what? You should get dressed up, go to the local cemetery, set up the camera, and just go dance around out there.
Sure.
And I
That makes
was like,
sense.
you know what? I think I'm gonna do that. But I mean, I wouldn't bring a real chainsaw. I'll just bring
Thank
the
you.
prop.
Yeah.
I got the trick or treat prop for $100. It doesn't move. It just
Nice.
makes sound. And I will just dance around with that because at the end of the day, if anybody stops you, well, I'm filming a movie. I didn't know I needed a permit to film here.
There
My
you go.
bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, I will never do. You know what? I'll never film a movie again under this name. Goodbye.
That's nice. No, like you said, that's the smart thing. You don't bring a weapon. You don't do things that are going to draw attention to yourself. If you just want to walk around the
No, I'll
haunted
make
house,
sure there's not a funeral going on if I go out there. I'll make sure it's closing time or something. Now
there
there
you
might be somebody cleaning up. They'll be like, "What the fuck is that?" And probably hurry up and leave. But that's okay. They're not going to bother me.
There you go. That's hilarious. I mean, it's a great mask, so
It
why
is.
not use it?
I like to have fun. I like, my kid has me dress up during all of October, scare people. He loves me to do it, so I just do it.
That's nice.
Yeah, my wife too. She likes me to she likes to prop me in front of the house as I'm like some kind of an animatronic, and people will come and up to me close, and then she has me jump, and then these kids 13, 14 just run. They're scared. They don't even know what to do.
I think that's
She
a good.
laughs.
I think the best scares, I know when I worked at the haunted house, my favorite scare was I would do exactly what you're talking about, just sit like an animatronic. And I did get to the point where a guy came forward and touched my nose and was like, "It's so realistic." And all I did was smile at him, and I thought that man was going to have a conniption. He broke the wall behind him. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
I'm sorry if you died.
Yeah, please don't die. That feels bad. That's probably off brand. Please don't die. But I do think that's what, like you said, that's almost like in a horror movie. That's so much more interesting than something that's just oh, there's the big scary thing. The Village. I'm sure you've seen that movie, right?
Yeah.
So it's awesome until you get to that one point in the movie where you're like, oh. Okay.
Well, I mean that was like Jeepers Creepers for me. I love that. I love that movie until I seen the thing spawn wings, and I'm like, oh, It's a creature feature now. I thought it was some sick serial killer.
Me too. I was like, oh, this is gonna be so cool, and then you're like, oh wait, it's like a weird fairy creature. I was like, yeah, no, I'm out. Thanks.
Yep, done.
Peace
out.
But
it would have been much more interesting if it was some sick sadistic killer that's been operating for 40 years under some ritual rite.
That would have been really cool. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I was like, did y'all just did you start writing the movie and then some of the writers left and you were like, we don't know where he was going? So
I was literally in the theater, and as soon as it spawned the wings, I just burst out laughing and I said, I can't.
That's awesome.
And I don't know. Ever since then, I was just like, okay, it's a creature feature.
Yeah.
And it becomes something different.
Yeah. I mean, if that's your thing, that's super cool. But I agree with you. If I'm in it and I'm like, wow, this guy's a demented serial killer who's doing this and we don't know why he's doing it, that's super cool. But when it becomes a creature feature, like you said, now it's not interesting as much to me anymore because now it can't really happen to me and it's not real.
Again, it's that superhuman factor. Vic said the other day, you want to stay away from Jason, guess what? Don't go to Crystal Lake and you won't get killed.
Good point.
Exactly. Let me ask you, Miss Winters, is Friday the 13th really a horror movie, or is it a movie that's people going on someone's land that's not theirs, and the landowner defending their property?
That's a good point. I think too, if you examine the different ones, the first Friday the 13th, isn't that more about grief?
And the mother.
More about the mother gaining revenge because killed her kids.
Right, exactly. Right. I mean, she had a very significant grief response to something awful that happened.
Other than, Jason Takes Manhattan, every murder happened on his property. not
Yeah.
outside his property.
Well, no. What happens when he went to space in Jason X? Whose property was
Yeah,
that?
I
But
don't
he
know
was,
about that.
sedated. He was under, the
That's
time. He was forced against his will.
That's a good point.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Jason goes to
Doesn't
space is a
count.
little rough.
I don't know what was more out there though. That or Leprechaun in space. Each one have their goods and bads there.
I mean, my vote always goes to Leprechaun in the Hood. It was fantastic.
That was
Just
The
cinematic.
only reason I'll say Jason is because everyone wanted Jason versus Freddy. And
Yes,
they threw us
yes.
Jason X, to hold us
Yeah,
over.
you're right.
Well,
You're
that's because New Line ended up getting a hold of the rights to the
right.
film
Right.
for a little bit.
Yes. Good
And it's
point.
all about
Which
who
very-
owns the rights.
Right.
But speaking of Leprechaun, I am excited that Mark's going to be there. OG classic. He was in the first one. He's going to be at Terracon there, signing autographs, taking photos.
Mhm.
He's also in Pee Wee. You got a little Pee Wee Playhouse. Or not Pee Wee. Pee Wee's Big Adventure, rather.
Yeah.
You got a few stars from that movie coming to this.
That's really cool.
Got a whole nice lineup, I think. It's a good lineup for Terracon. Plus, you got the band Gua.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's going to be cool. Elvira. I'm excited for Linda Blair myself. I'm a big Exorcist fan.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to wear my Pazuzu necklace.
Nice.
That movie, I'm going to tell her that the movie irks me that they chose a Mesopotamian demon that protects mother and children to portray the devil.
Yeah, that's right.
It always when I learned out later and did research, I was always kind of bummed about that. I was like, they should have just kept it on the story of it being a Christian demon or a Christian devil and just kept it on the religious aspect. But overall, that's probably one of my favorite movies that involves, I don't know, one of them, possessions. I do like that one that was recently, what was it, Late Night Talk with the Devil.
Oh, yeah. That was interesting.
I thought that was very cleverly done and interesting.
Yeah, that was
It's a lot of
interesting.
fun.
I like that.
I mean, exorcism movies have been overplayed, so it's like either they're really good or they're really bad.
Yeah.
You get no in between.
Yeah, it's kind of like, there's certain series, like you said, whether it's like Amityville or, certain ones where it's just like, it's real hit or miss. And eventually they're just kind of making movies to make movies and you're just getting nowhere.
Well, I mean, I hate to see it because I enjoy them, but I am glad they are closing out the Conjuring series, at least with these actors, and closing out this chapter. I heard they might go and bring back earlier cases and have a different actor play or do a spin-off, but they're not going to do, any more of this series.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that makes sense, though. Like you said, they've come to a place where they can do that. So it's like...
Well, yeah. I mean, the real Annabelle dolls on tour now. They made it. They're big time.
There you go. It's like you guys did it. I mean, it's like you said, the Warrens, their whole history is quite interesting, and what they did and what they did for spiritualism and all of that was really interesting.
And I think them just being, I'm from Massachusetts, them just being close.
Yeah,
I think that's what
cool.
really intrigued me. If I lived out in California or something, I probably wouldn't care.
That's
But me
point.
being from New England, this is like like a New England ghost story. I want to know more about these people. I want to know more about this. I mean, I am happy that I guess that somebody is taking and opening up the museum. I just hope they are careful because there is consequence. There is warning to it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's funny that the doll is just a Raggedy Ann doll, and what they made on TV is just like this great demon.
I love it.
Me too.
It's very fun. I like, I mean, it's kind of funny because I don't love dolls at all. And I later on in a different book, I have a whole thing with like a room of dolls and, just the things that can be done with creepy dolls. But people get really into this whole like haunted eBay doll thing. So,
well, I mean, there's stories of it. I mean,
yeah,
I was big. I wouldn't say I was. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're intriguing. Like, I mean, for me, a story would be like, if you ever seen Tales from the Hood, they have the doll story, but like all those dolls had that lady's trauma. So, like,
yes, good point.
Did that trauma manifest as some kind of entity to possess these dolls? Because they say hatred and anger and all that can manifest as an energy.
Well, what's interesting is like I worked in a lot of state hospitals and stuff, and generally speaking, in better hospitals, they'll do a regular staging. Just like every month or so, because our feeling is our patients come in and they dump off all of these horrible emotions, and that's as you guys probably know, that's the idea behind like spirit creatures or shadow people. It can be this like mound of just negative energy that's just sort of moving around. And when I first started training where I worked, they're one of the older, clinicians, that's what they would do. They worked the night shift, and they would come in and they would like sage in their night shift because they're like, I'm not having that walking around here with me. So it's kind of fun.
That bad mojo, man. It's a real thing, though. I mean, negativity is negativity. There's been studies done to show what it can do on the human body. So, I mean, you can imagine what it can do in a mass level.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very interesting, and I think negative energy begets negative energy. So it's like when it is there, it can cause some really significant problems.
Wasn't that the whole premise of Ghostbusters 2? All the negative energy manifested under New York and became slime and turned to life.
I mean, to be fair, I could see that happening.
Probably already is.
It could be. That could explain a lot, right?
See, Vic, that's why the lady from New York didn't show up. The slime got her.
Most likely, who knows these days with everything? I don't know what's going on these days. I mean, after this episode, I really need to talk to you about tomorrow night because something crazy has come across my radar.
Okay, we can talk. Don't you worry.
It's known as, I hope you are really open-minded.
Oh, God, I'm scared now.
I'm very interested.
I know, because there's a guy that's warning me about Annabelle, but now asking me if I'm open-minded. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not brave, Robin. I'll be honest with you. I've kicked the habit.
I mean, I know what, the world conception and everything like that. Past in 2025, February, I mean, we've been working together for like almost 2 years now.
Listen, if you're going to propose to me,
just
get on with that show.
No.
My wife isn't going to approve. I'm already married. I'm just
saying. I understand that. We worked for a while then.
Oh, you were going with 2025. I don't know where you were going.
In February 2025, dropped divorce papers on my table. Say Happy Valentine's Day. And ever since then, Versace will have to admit that the metamorphosis of my podcasting style and my point of view and everything like that has changed drastically.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, we've gotten a little bit of a darker Victor than we had before.
Okay. Well, metamorphosis can be good. Sometimes, we can't grow until we remove things that stop us. So
I believe that she was stopping him anyways in his personal and in his professional growth any which way, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, think of it like physics, right? Only one item can occupy space and time. So whether someone is negative or positive, they are occupying space. So if they're removed from the space, then something else can fill the space. So, you just kind of look at it like that.
You're just moving things around, Victor. See? Just moving things around, left or right. And yes, I'm very good. We watched Cannibal Holocaust last night. How much more open do you want me to be?
That's pretty great.
Actually, did I not say I like movies that if the next day I think about, not just whatever,
And I necromantic in its original form.
Your movie last night, I was thinking about it the next day.
Were you? I bet you were.
I mean, I was. It wasn't like, scared or anything like that. Just kind of like, huh.
I thought about that for a few days. That question at the end of who the real cannibals are is a very good question. It's an age-old question. We're the white people, we're Americans, the colonization of countries. Were we the barbarians? Were we the cannibals? Were we doing these things to portray others as being barbaric? It gives a lot of moral, spin on what the news can do, what they can spin a person to see and what people can be made to see as bad or good. It's a lot of it's deeper than people think. It's not just a gore film for me.
And neither am I. As I even told you last night that this is just like this is real life. You go to South America, you know, in the Amazon, you find a tribe, they slaughter you. You know, that's what it is. The cannibals. That's like going to Snake Island. That's off Brazil. You go there, you get bit. What do you expect?
I mean, yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, we've always talked about if you fuck around and find out, well, you fucked around and found out. I
Yeah.
mean, there's things you don't do. Do I go and see Annabelle? Yes. Do I go open the door and slap it in the face? No.
Good call.
If they say take pictures, cool. If they say no, then keep my camera in the pocket. Like, if they say she doesn't like photographs, then we ain't taking no photos.
Yeah.
I may be questioning why I had to pay so much, but that's a different topic. You know, but there's things in the world you just don't do. I mean, I think that's what makes some of the horror movies campy. That's because they do these choices that you know they shouldn't do, and you're just sitting there like, why? But like I said, if they followed one or two things in the first 5 minutes, we wouldn't have a movie.
Well, I mean, to be fair, nobody wants to watch the movie of like people make good choices and hang out with good people and do what they're supposed to.
I do. See, no, I like to watch all that if something really terrible happens to them at the end.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Because then I'll be like, well, screw you. Haha, real life gotcha.
I do think it's very interesting when you have a situation that you can't just blame on like human stupidity or plot convenience or whatever else. It's like, no, this is, I always kind of say the predator works twice as hard as the prey. So the predator is always active and the predator is always looking. So if the predator's coming for you, you could just be a normal person, like doing your daily day, and something awful happens. That's way more upsetting to me than somebody who goes, maybe we should hide in the basement with no weapons. See how that goes. Also, let me put on a bikini. Like, okay.
I think that's why the scenes of like Final Destination resonated with so many people, because it's like point. Normal shit just happening that could happen, a series of unfortunate events, and all of a sudden you're dead.
That's a good point. Yeah, because oh, did you hear that? That's thunder. Huh.
Oh, you're getting the storm. We had it earlier here. It was coming through, storm, lightning.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It was nice for a minute.
That is happening. But I agree with you. I think, it's different and it gives us a different level. It's kind of like the Strangers films where it's like somebody just shows up and things happen, and it's very unsettling when just normal people are going through stuff. So,
well, I mean, if you want to hear something crazy today, my father and I were like, we were smoking a bowl. I will admit that, and we were talking about my mother. And about, how my mother, would see from up above, everything. And we look outside, and maybe 16 feet of us was a deer.
Oh, my gosh.
Just like looking at us, like staring at us. And we were just like, whoa, kind of like
wow.
See, now you should have put the deer inside the Daiku box.
But if we kept quiet, it's like watching that. Oh, that's really cool. Also we're stoned now, so it's like that's really cool. But and also like two other deer came up from over the hill. They're just like eating away. Just.
Aww. It's kind of pretty.
The dog didn't bark. It was just.
Wow.
Just
that's
deer
wild.
being deer.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Sometimes it's mysterious like that. Sometimes I see like birds and stuff. You wonder, you hear these things about cardinals and blue jays and such.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about grandparents, and they'll show up in the garden and such, and it's just like, oh.
Well, I work with a lot of people in grief, and I have a lot of people who see things like that, or they have very vivid dreams about their loved ones, or it will feel like the person's in the room with them, and I kind of always just say, if that's comforting to you and, if you're okay with it, then what's the harm?
Yes, Joe, I'm guessing you're getting the weather we had here. Do be careful. He's letting people know that there's heavy weather coming for the next few hours in your area.
Oh boy, yeah, I can hear that. Like,
Right.
it's really coming down now.
That's what we had. That's what we had earlier. Like I said, storms were coming through. In my area, I was having storms coming through earlier. Like
around here, we noticed the wind was picking up, and we saw leaves falling, and we was like, "Oh, it's fall time,"
Oh no, we had like blackout conditions of rain. We had thunder, lightning for a little bit, like 45 minutes or so, and then it went away.
I mean, for Sashi, let me ask you a question right now. If you had the day off from kids, what would you be doing?
Watching all the
no responsibilities. What would you be doing?
Watching all the movies that I can't watch with the kid around that I paid for.
While you're getting what? Stoned.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So I have no responsibility with the kids. What do you think I was doing all day?
Getting stoned.
Yeah.
So we should have an even better episode tonight if we're both really stoned.
Oh, I'm in fucking roaring form tonight.
I hope so.
Oh, wait,
we got no pretty females to keep the show going, so it's all up to you, bud.
You say that, bud.
Oh boy, see, this is what makes me nervous.
It's known as Tabitha is known as this. Versace, God bless him. He has a beautiful wife. He's married. He's happy, has a kid. With everything happening with my wife and, dropping the papers and everything, I thank God, because I had a really good attorney. What I want with the kids is going to happen. God bless. But also, it's not as me, I just don't give less of a fuck anymore. Okay. So it's just like, instead of being like, excuse me, ma'am, you're beautiful like that, I'd be like, for example, I'm going to use you for example. Say, hey, Tabitha, how you doing? What's going on?
Hello.
It's just like kind of like a more like loose, more like, I know.
Okay.
It's like someone like, trying to oppress. It's like, here I am. Take me as I am.
Not a bad attitude. It's good to feel like you're in a better space sometimes.
Yeah, it really is.
That's good.
So basically, you're like Norman Bates after therapy now.
Me.
So like number 2, you come out and you're like, hey, you're not worrying about mom no more.
This proves I'm a Gemini, so I always have a twin.
I'm a Gemini too.
Yeah,
that's why the show's crazy. It's usually run by 4 people. It's nuts.
That's why there's Versace Stoner and Orgasmo and Tasmo.
Sometimes Orgasmo Phantasmo comes out. Sometimes all these characters come out.
Oh my! You guys have a lot going on.
It's like we just have fun. We just like it's like carefree, have fun. People get offended when it's like we grew up in the 90s and 80s. It's like
I do healthcare. It's very stressful, so I like to have fun because old people, elderly people, sick people, as you know, clinical work in any way, it's rewarding, but it's not fun work.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. My daughter's autistic level 3.
Oh, okay.
So it's like we kind of let loose on the show because we can. Why not?
Why not? That's healthy. That's important.
It's not like there's people in the basement locked up and we're playing martyr down there. It's not like that. I mean, I'm trying to get to that true level of pain. I'm telling you, those people were no more than Cenobites because think about it. Those people, they thought that they could reach wherever through pain, and Cenobites believed pain was pleasure.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah, that's what.
It's all one world.
There you go. Bring it all back.
But boys, to be fair there though, we were like very, very PG, very, people pleasing, and then, my unfortunate happened, and I started being like, I don't give a anymore. So we started recording the evenings, which is more carefree, more, and then you start recording in your car, so you're away from your son and everything like that. Like they can't hear this, but yeah, fuck yeah, I'm by myself.
Well, before it was afternoons, and if my kid was home, he'd just jump on the lap, or this one would come in. It was more just family friendly, and now it's just. If we're running at 8 or 9, we can A, change the content a little bit. A, we can get a little bit more risque, and B, we can, we don't have to be those kid-friendly people because it's not a kid-friendly show.
Yeah.
I mean, my books are not kid-friendly, so I can understand. I will say, like, teens really like the horror books, but, there's a different thing. And like you guys said, there's a different tone, I think, that's, more appropriate to certain things. And
see, like, my kid's 7 now. I'll be granted, I've let him watch some pretty horrific horror movies. What I haven't let him do is watch the sex scenes within the horror movies. I will fast forward that because I don't need him to know about sex, but I will let him watch any of the gore and stuff because of the fact that we had a very early on conversation when he was like 4 or 5 that with the wrestling, with the video, with movies, with video games, all of this is all make-believe. None of this can happen. You can't do any of this in the real world. So, like, he was able to play video games like Grand Theft Auto and never turned into real-world violence.
That's very smart. Yeah, so he gets it.
He got it right off the bat at 5 or 6, and it stuck with him. So he'll watch a movie, and he'll be like, he's more interested. How did they do that? How could we recreate that? Rather than, oh, my God, I'm scared of that. The sex scene's a little bit different. I don't need him to see the nudity or that edge of it yet. He's only 7, but for most of the parts, he's seen a lot of the horror films or a lot of the scary parts, and he likes movies like Five Nights at Freddy's and things like that.
Yes.
Well, to be fair, it can be very detrimental when kids don't know of things that can be frightening, or don't know of the fact that there are dangers in this world. To go back to what we said about Grimm's fairy tales, that was the point, right? It's like those were written so that your kids didn't wander off into the woods and they didn't do anything bad. You know what I mean? So.
Well, here we go. What can we expect from you at TerraCon at the booth, and are you there both days?
Oh, exciting. So I am there both days. Hi, Joe. Yeah, I'm there both days. We have some really cool stuff at the booth. So I'll be, obviously I've got books there. I'll be happy to sign books. But we also have really cool merch. So we have some little stuffies, little spook stuffies that are little ghosts. We have some really cool bracelets and things. We've got some dog scarves because I think dogs should always be included, and cat scarves because pets should always be included when you're going to be doing fun stuff. And we've got like horror bows. We've got earrings. Like we've just got a bunch of fun stuff.
If you don't have pets, can your kids wear them?
Yes, they absolutely can. 100%. Yes. And we also have bracelets for the different characters. So if you have favorite characters, if you're like, oh, I really love Marcus, or I really love Lilith, like we have, like this is the Lilith bracelet. So it's got a snake, because obviously it's got some wine. Let's see, we've got a rose because she's full of thorns. We've got a hat. We've got other ones that have some other things on them. So it's like different things that are important to the characters are on like all the little bracelets. And this is like a Team Eris bracelet because that's the bad guys, quote unquote. We've got some other fun stuff for those. And they all come with like little envelopes that explain who the character is and what the charms mean. So we're trying to make them like really personalized and individual so that you can really get into the world of the spooks and, what they enjoy and what they like.
Let me ask you a question. What's the price point of all this stuff? Because it sounds great, but I don't want to lose my shirt.
Oh, you're really kind. Yeah, we're not here to fleece anybody. So, the stuff is, if it's bracelets, we're looking at, I think it's between $5 and the worst or maybe $14, if at all. And I think our little spookies are like $5. I think I have spookies over here. If you give me a second, I'll get you a spooky. Hang on.
Dude, something came across my radar that I need to get your opinion on.
Yeah, why not?
So these are spookies.
Ooh.
Okay. So these are fun. These are little spookies. So you can put them on your, whatever, your bag or whatever.
Backpack needs them.
Yeah,
Nice
so little,
backpack.
because they're spooks, and that's the name of our group. So we've got little spookies. But we've got some really fun, just little guys and just fun little stuff to have.
How much of the books go for?
The books are so the books are going to be between the smaller ones are maybe 10 with we'll obviously personalize them and everything. The other ones are between 12 and 15. We do blind books where we do all kinds of cool personalizations, and we like put them inside, we wrap them, we put black roses on them. So we have some of those, and then we've got.
But we'll be able to like purchase the whole collection of books, all your works.
Yes, everything will be there. Yeah, we've got like spooky earrings. We've got let's see what I got here, guys. I've got
That's how I'll justify it. I can drop like a couple of hundred on this and then bring home the earrings and still win.
That's what I'm saying. See, it's like you can buy some bracelets, so you could get like a Gerard bracelet that has like some cool French stuff on it. We've got an Eiffel Tower, and we've got a lion because he's nice. Very loyal. He protects people.
As long as I bring the kid a spooky and the wife the earrings, I'll be good.
See, that's what you got to do. You got to like decide like how do you want to do it. So everybody gets something. The bad guys have some daggers, and we've got like a skull and crossbones and a circus, because obviously it happens at the circus. So just some really like fun. We've got TerraCon 2025, just to like, nice. But like we've got my very favorite, which is plot twist. So
that is fun. That's fun.
Yeah, so we've got like some really fun stuff to just kind of enjoy and get yourself some little bling. And like you said, you can get a little gift for somebody, get something for yourself. When you order the blind books from the website, I blood splatter them. So so that's kind of fun. So I'll put it like, hey, this is for you. Tell me what you wanted to say. And then I'll blood splatter it. We'll seal it with like a wax seal. We'll put like stickers and all kinds of fun, cool stuff. So we try to really
that's awesome. I love it. This is gonna be like I said, TerraCon's going to be a really fun time. And like I said, on the vendor side, it's people like you that make it a lot of fun to just walk around in between the guests and seeing them, because like I said, there's a whole world of, the next biggest, author, the next biggest director, the next biggest film star, the next biggest artist to come out. They just need to be seen. They just need to be heard. They just need to be read. They just need to be looked at, talked to. And, like I said, I can't wait to see where this all goes. I will definitely come by the booth. I can't wait to do that. Check out some of these books, read about these spookies, and get to know some of these characters that we've been talking about, because they really seem really intricate and have some personality.
I think, my favorite part of a book is getting to know the characters and making them, part of my life. So I try to really make the characters fun. And, something that's been really cool is like the reviews that I've gotten. They enjoy the characters, so I like that. And I like that we have a spectrum of characters, and you kind of know what you're getting with the different people. But, they do, like, I love my bad guys to be completely unhinged. I like them psychopathic, but they have to also be very intelligent. And I like them to have a reasoning behind what they're doing, because, in my criminal work, what I find generally, I used to be the co-leader of a support group for murderers. So it was a murderer support group in a Department of Correction. And essentially what I always found really interesting is the ways that people can decide that their crime is okay, and decide how they pick their victims and decide like what they're going to do next, which is really cool.
Oh, you're going to be across from Freddy's boiler room. That's nice.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. I'm very excited by that. That's very exciting.
That will be fun. I wonder if they're going to be doing photography there. I wonder if that's where Heather will be doing her pro photos, because I know some of them are going to be with set pieces. Some of the people will be in character. Interesting. I like I said, I enjoy these cons, and I enjoy like I said, both aspects: meeting characters, getting horror stuff signed. I have a nice collection of signed stuff, and some photos and such. But then that's only part of it. I end up leaving with bags and bags full of indie stuff, vendor stuff, independent films, independent books, and just cool things. You'll see people that sell or use creative, artistic ability to make all sorts of items. And if it's cool enough, I'll support it. I mean, why not? And then plus then there's like, collector's items and novelty items that will always get me, and then there's the videos and
Oh
all the
yeah.
other millions of things to buy. But
I mean, I think all of us have like a treasured con thing. Like I know I have I have an X-Men hoodie that it's a collegiate hoodie that says like Xavier, Institute, and has like all the like patches and stuff. And it's super cool. It's like one of my favorite things of all time. And like you said, that when you go to a con, that's what you're looking for. And you see that thing, you're like, and every time you look at it, it reminds you of like, this was such an awesome time. I had such a blast.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If I can ask Miss Winters, do you think horror over the years has just been watered down, become more of a money market than creativity? Because as someone like me, I grew up with horror, loved Friday. First movie I fell in love with was Friday 13th 6, Jason Lives.
Oh.
Love horror until, I start having kids, and then, you can't watch horror as much because kids are around. And, and then divorce happened. I'm back and I see horror these days. I'm just like, oh, wait a second. Chucky has a sci-fi series now. What the? He had, Megan. What?
You're watching commercialized horror, though. You're watching highly produced, heavy produced, cinematic horror masterpieces that are there to make money.
That was today.
You got to remember, though, all these other movies. Halloween, first of all, the original was an independent film.
Yeah.
Okay. That had a low budget. All these other films were flops in the theaters. They failed terribly. The only reason they did well was VHS.
Yeah, but is that what it become today? Just, digital, look at the special effects, not just, the next day it's like that. Man, that's fucked up what I saw last night.
You gotta find a good movie that used practical effects. Stay away from VFX.
I think to answer your question, I think that there is a whole, because there's a lot of commercialization of almost everything right now. I think that you're absolutely right. I think what happens is one thing goes well, even if it's something that we didn't expect to go well, something that slips through, right? Like an indie. Everybody then markets it. They all copy it. They make it a certain way. But I will say, like, the people who are making decisions sometimes I think get a little lost in that. Like, I mean, I can say myself, when I met with an agent once, and he said to me, he's like, this needs to be Silence of the Lambs. And I said, I'm not writing Silence of the Lambs. And he said, yeah, but Silence of the Lambs will sell. You should write Silence of the Lambs. And I said, well, that's already been written. I don't want to write Silence of the Lambs. And then he said, well, this isn't how psychologists talk. And I said, well, that's how I talk, and that's what I do, right? But it gave me a lot of insight into that's what's put out there, because that's what they're buying and that's what they're putting money into. So unless I can give you the thing that they know is going to make money, they're not as invested in it, which is why I love the independent scene. It's nice.
But you can go two ways. You can play for the masses and do something the safe way, or you can go something even like, Terrifier went in that third film. He was like, I can't get backing. I'm going to go independent and put out my vision because I don't want it watered down by the masses. And it'll go, if it makes money, it does. If it doesn't, it won't. He didn't find instant success. His first, run with with Art the Clown didn't do hot. Trick or Treat, I think it was, or whatever it was.
I love that movie.
It's a great movie, but unless you're a niche fan of that kind of film, you're not going to enjoy it. But me being an anthology fan, I loved it. But
it's like Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever is independent. Then all of a sudden, we have to do a second one, and
there was no reason to remake that.
What happened? No one remembers it. We always remember the first Cabin Fever.
Well, the first one was the only good one because they had the old guy, and the old guy at the end with the dudes with the guns. That was probably the most memorable scene. That and the skin coming off the girl. But besides that, there was no reason to remake that movie.
Also, it's reality these days. What they put in the water system and everything, it's like estrogen and shit like that. That can actually happen.
It could.
Chemical warfare.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what makes us scared, right? And that's what I think is cool about horror, because it's stuff that could actually happen, But at the same time, I agree with you. Like, why do we have a sequel if there's no need for a sequel? Like, I don't need to know more about these people. If I'm done with them, I'm done with them, you know?
Yeah, because with me, it was always like, can it actually happen?
Yeah.
Jason, I don't really see that happening. Michael Myers, I don't really see that happening. With respect towards both.
Yeah.
But it's like Freddy Krueger, I don't know what happens when I sleep. You know, it's possible.
Well, I mean, like you
Yeah,
said,
it's like,
Freddy Krueger's interesting. What's more interesting is sleep paralysis. And, you know, the idea,
That's really scary.
yeah, that I think
yeah.
is super interesting. Where I'm going into that in another book that's coming up. And like my next book is about a cannibal. And
Well, I like cannibals too.
yeah, cannibals are super interesting. But
Yeah.
what I did is I wanted to look at what would happen if we viewed a cannibal in a different light. Like you guys were talking about this earlier, right? The idea that the cannibal might be in the right rather than the wrong. And if that's the case, like how does that impact people's morality, and how does that impact how?
Well, see, this is kind of where we were getting last night. The movie,
Right.
Cannibal Holocaust was criticized for many reasons. One of them was being the live animal kills, but
Yeah.
the animals that were killed at the time were used for food and they were eaten.
Mhm.
And the thing is, if you looked around there, if you looked in the set, if you looked anywhere near there, these people didn't have grocery stores to go shopping. They killed animals to
Yeah.
eat.
Right.
Yeah,
That
well,
was what they
Sasashi was
did.
telling me about, this is, people are upset about this, upset about that. I'm like, yeah, but, off the cameras, what's happening right now, this is happening.
Mhm.
If you
I mean,
live there, yes. I mean, if you go to a foreign country, if that's their delicacy to eat monkey, then they're going to serve you monkey.
it's like
That's the way of the world. Just because we
Chinese
get
dogs
served,
and cats, it happens. Don't be like, oh, you can't see this. It's reality. Why can't we see it?
because animal meat is animal meat at the end of the day. And
Yeah,
then a
it's
lot of
just
people, the cannibals, they'll view a human as another animal. They don't view it as a human.
Right. Meat is meat.
we eat hamburgers, but we don't see how cows get slaughtered. But we don't
No.
complain about it.
Well, and to be fair, I
I
think
do. I watch Texas Chainsaw and eat my meat.
you're hardcore over there, Versace. But I think we all have a very interesting issue where we have a naivete about our food sources and what we eat and what we do. You know, we kind of Anglicanize it where it's like, oh, like I don't know if you guys are gamers, but if you played like Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
When you shoot an animal, it becomes prepackaged meat. Like it's pretty awesome. Like I would hunt all the time if that was the case, let's be honest. But it's interesting because it's like that really is the idea. Like we don't know where our food comes from until we care about it, and then suddenly it matters.
Well, even Minecraft, you have to
Yeah.
physically kill the animal, take it, and then you got to cook it, or you're going to eat it raw and get sick.
Right. There you go.
It's like who's your daddy on PlayStation 5? You kill the bear, you eat the raw steak, you get sick.
But see, what my thing is, why don't people censor the game Minecraft for animal cruelty, but yet they want to censor a movie for animal cruelty when it's kind of the same? I'm sorry.
It's fucking, if you do your research and be educated, it's like, hey, yes, like for this movie yesterday, this does happen in fucking South America. Why are we saying like, oh, this is awful? What you see in this movie.
Because what you were watching was
an
an
they must eat. It's like they're killing they're doing it anyways.
Because what you were watching was an exploitation film, so they took the headlines that this was happening and they brought it to the max, and a bunch of people made films about it because it was a moneymaker.
So it was the media. The media.
But rather than doing the Hollywood style of playing it safe, they would do these shock videos, just crazy exploitation shock videos, and they would be played at grindhouses through the day, through the night. People would just go in there, watch it or not, wouldn't care. But it like I said, they would just do it that way. Now, again, they play for the masses. People want to become successful in Hollywood, or they want to become independent and get their message out. It's either one or the other. It's kind of hard to do both. Or you could do both, do an independent film, do a Hollywood film. But most of the time, once you get into like one major market, it's like, okay, now I'm into the big leagues. Things are done a little bit differently. But like you were saying, now your books are sold on Amazon. They're also, I'm guessing you have your own website because you're saying you personalize.
Yeah, so on the website, we're about to launch our TikTok shop, so that's pretty exciting. We're hopefully going to be doing that in the next day or so, and there'll be a link on the website. But if it's not up and you want something, you're always you're welcome to message me. I do a newsletter as well. But we personalize the books. We're going to have all of the merch up, which is cool. It's tabithawinters.com. So it's easy to find, and then we have our Instagram and our TikTok and our Facebook and all that fun stuff, but it's kind of about the idea, like you guys are talking about. It's about making, kind of making a community of all of us, knowing that we all love horror. We all love psychological thrillers, and it's okay that we do. There's nothing wrong with it. You're not some monster because it's interesting to you that, my character is, mad at another guy because he used the chainsaw incorrectly and he got it lodged in the dude and he's just mad because he's like, what are you doing? You're wasting important chainsaw time,
Hey, listen, not for nothing, but at one point, all of America fell in love with Jeffrey Dahmer.
I mean, yes. That's very true. And Ted Bundy to this day, is one of the people that's, always constantly we're making stuff about him. I think Zac Efron recently played him. We are just completely tantalized by murder. We love murder. Yeah, we think it's amazing. Please, come on. Dateline's on all the time. CSI, how long has that show been on?
I've told people if they brought back executions publicly and did it in front, they would make more money and we wouldn't have to pay taxes than we could ever make. Because people would go out there and watch this stuff because they were just intrigued.
Well, we do it. We do it all the time, right? Like we do it on social media all the time. It's, it's super, it's something people really get into, And like, I think of my books as like the modern day CSI where it's, obviously it's, there's crimes and stuff, but crimes are worse than they used to be. And they're more, they're getting more and more audacious because people can, and I try to kind of reflect that and look at it in terms of like, well, how would that be for us? Because we live in a very violent time.
Yeah, it's weird. We live in a press time, but we live in a violent time. People are more modest in what they say, and I don't know if this has made things more violent because less jokes are made, because people are more sensitive. Has it made people more violent? Has it made that?
I think when you live in, a state of fear, you're going to be very careful about what you say. And unfortunately, when we repress fear, it tends to come out in really negative, dangerous ways, And I think you're right. I think we see a lot more of that. One of the things about my book series is I have very offensive characters. We're not afraid to poke fun at people. We're not afraid to have a sense of humor, and I kind of say that to people, like, if you're not there for that, I get it. It's totally cool, but if you are, then this is the right place. And
I really want to read these books now. This is going to be good. I mean, you got all the right stuff, all the right mixings to make a good story here.
Well, you've got to have, I love a funny horror movie because I like, for me, like, especially when I write, I want to get my audience to the point where I've got you right there and you're like, and you're ready to pass out. But then I want to give you something funny afterwards, so you can kind of come back down. And I love that. So that's kind of what I strive for. And the idea of, I've got a whole scene where I have Marcus and Gerard are taking on this, like, thugs, because you got to fight thugs, right? That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
They're fighting thugs. And in the meantime, they're talking about the storyline from Home Alone and exactly what it was and why it was that way, and Marcus is beatboxing and they're just like enjoying the fact that they're in this ridiculous fight because at least we get to fight something and no one's mad at us for hitting people for a change. It's just silly stuff. And it's like, we need that kind of fun in our lives.
Yeah, you do. It makes it more entertaining. It makes it more fun. And it brings more depth to what's going on.
Well, and, I think like Victor said, it's the idea of like, if you're kids of like the 80s or the 90s, pop culture is like a huge thing to us. And you know what I mean? It's like, I use a lot of like music and pop culture references. And, I think I referred to Macaulay Culkin a little too often in Deception, honestly. I don't know what my problem was. But he was Party Monster. So there you go. But it's like, you have to enjoy that stuff. And it helps us all relate to each other and remind each other, like, yeah, it is, it is fun. Marcus plays with phone ringtones. So he'll change your ringtone and that's a clue. So if I give you a ringtone in the plot, it's because Marcus knows what's going on and he's starting to tip you off. So I try to really enjoy the time with the readers so that you get to enjoy your time, and it's a nice place to go so you don't have to deal with all the crummy news and
So it's a great so it's a great escape. It's a good place to jump into,
Yeah.
escape the daily bullshit, and get into it. Well, I can't wait to it. We're about what, a week away or so.
Yes,
A
it's
week from
crazy.
tomorrow. It's
Ah,
finally here. I bought the tickets like back in February when it was announced. I've been just patiently waiting.
Thank
nice.
God it's here because Versace ever since got the ticket has been talking about it. Been like, it's like, this, come on, great. We're happy for you. We're beyond we're happy for you. It's like, what's that happen? It's like, let's
Well,
go.
it's Paracon, and then there's gonna be, like I said, Silver Scream Fest,
Nice.
and you're gonna get the Terrifier cast and crew there, and you're gonna have other things. Then I'm going up to Connecticut, where you're gonna have the 40th anniversary of Return of the Living Dead, which you'll have that whole cast, and
Is it
you're gonna have
Return of
the
the Living Dead or Night of the Living Dead?
Return of the Living Dead with Linnea Quigley and all of them,
Am I
and
that
that,
fucking old?
huh?
Am I that fucking old?
The
I don't
living
know.
dead just keep coming back, dude. It's nothing. Don't worry.
They do.
They just keep
And
coming.
then they got a Halloween 3 thing going on. They just announced John Cusack, which is huge. Like,
Wow, that's cool.
yeah, so there's gonna be a bunch of people up there. And then I don't know. That last month I haven't found anything, but then maybe I'll take a month off, and then October's here. So then it's like actually Halloween season. So it's like, oh,
There you go.
fun.
Then you're set. You're like, I got this. I
Exactly.
mean, I think you never need an excuse to watch horror. I'll watch horror like every single day.
Oh yeah, because
You know what I
now
mean?
we have seasonal horror. We have a few Thanksgiving horrors, and then we got a lot of
Yes,
Christmas horrors now. I
I
like movies
love
like
that.
Krampus. I love
Oh,
Krampus. I
I
love
love that.
the fact that Terrifier 3 took it to Christmas. I like that there's a few others out there. Even Gremlins is technically a Christmas
That is
horror
a Christmas
movie.
movie. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I like the
counts.
Jack Frost series. That
Yep.
was great.
Go the other
Yep.
one. Die Hard 2.
Die Hard, yes.
Those are good too.
Lethal Weapon.
Well, thank you, Tabitha, for coming on. Can't wait to come to the booth, grab these books, and see what it's all about. I wish you the best those days, though, and I know you're gonna have a great time, though. I know it from the person, like I said. I do have a friend that moderates some of the panels. He's been doing it for a few years, so he says it's one of his favorite cons to go to. So I am excited for it, and
That's
I
great.
think it's gonna be a great time. So we will see you there, and if people get out there, go there. Marlboro, not that expensive to go in. You can go in, have a good time, meet vendors. It's gonna be stars there, autographs, pro photo ops, all of that. If you can't though, go to TabithaWinters.com. Buy yourself a book. Get it personalized. Support the independent scene. Support authors. Support the horror scene. Support everybody, because that's what it's all about, support. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. Stay spooky. Sachi out.